Welcome to the Condor DM show. Tonight I'm covering the game DragonQuest. It's put it this way, I'll sit there and explain to people in the hobby that Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition is not wargaming, even though many people said it is, and I'm like, well, it's not. And a game like DragonQuest will carry that message home. This is a tabletop role-playing game done from the vantage point of some serious wargaming people. DragonQuest, I mean, the name might make you think, well, it's going to be like a fantastical RPG. In many ways it is, but it is extremely, extremely tactical. Combat can take longer than, say, old school D&D. It could almost, at certain points, take as long as what you would see in the new school from WotC, right? So extremely, extremely tactical combat with DragonQuest. A very tactical, wargamey, tabletop role-playing game where it's a serious focus on, what this game is wargaming, obviously in the combat area, right? But yes, just to say, this is a very tactical game. We're going to cover that tonight. I want to talk about something that when people argue stuff in the hobby, or they're more like socially, this is not a game-related thing, but when people in the hobby talk about certain things like free speech, they make a lot of errors in their judgment of blocking people. So people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby constantly relate blocking people with being anti-free speech. It just tells you right away this is not a difference in opinion. They just factually don't understand free speech. Now, I just want to straighten this up because I've heard so many people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby relate them getting blocked by somebody as that person being opposed to free speech. I want to clarify this. The open square of ideas, I have the right at any time to disengage with you in any conversation and debate, right? I have the right to disengage from talking to you, right? And if me and another group want to talk about something, we have the right, even as a group, let alone individual, to disengage having a conversation or debate with you, right? Okay, so that's our right. Now, in the open square of ideas, in that conversational area, the only way you're considered to be unfairly treated, say taking your right to free speech away, would be for you to be kicked out of the open square of ideas, right? So I can disengage with you, but you have the right to be there. And so I explain to people, if I block you on X or on YouTube, that is me choosing to disengage from talking to you. If I block you to the point where you can't really take part in in the comment section or in the chat, that's me and other people disengaging from you. How your free speech would be attacked, or for me to be anti-free speech, is if I report you in some way and try to get you kicked off a platform. So think about YouTube or X as like the open square of ideas. I'm not going to report you. I don't want to take your right to speak away from you. But at any time, I can disengage from talking to you, and that is blocking you. And at no point is your free speech attacked or my anti-free speech for blocking you. That's my right to disengage from having a conversation with you. You still have the right to respond to me overall. You can go talk to other people and tell them what you think about me. That's your right, right? You can make a video on the platform. You can make a post in your public community area. At any time you're on the platform, you can respond to me in different ways. And you could choose to talk about me and my ideas in the open square of ideas. What you can't do is force me to have a conversation with you. You can't force me to debate you, right? You have the right to speak in the area of open speech. That's your freedom of speech area. That's your freedom of speech and your right to express yourself. But you have no right to control me. Right? And that's a form of control. You can't force me into a conversation with you. I have the right to disengage, and that is blocking you on the platform. I'm disengaging. At no point am I anti-free speech in that process. So if I block you and I talk about free speech all the time, I'm still pro-free speech. It's if I report you and try to get you kicked off the platform and have your right to speak freely taken from you on the platform, that's a form of being anti-free speech. That's why censorship on a platform is considered and not just considered, it is anti-free speech. It's if you have the right to speak freely and I kick you off a platform, that's your right to speak freely being taken from you as it relates to that platform. So this is not a difference in opinion. Either you understand what free speech is or you don't. You can't control me. I have the right to disengage from you at any time when it comes to conversation. And if you don't think I have the right to disengage with you, that's a form of control. That's we're no longer talking about free speech. Now you are trying to control me as an individual. You have no right to do that. You have no right to control me whatsoever. So people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby, either you educate yourselves about free speech when you talk about it, or in my opinion, stop talking about the topic. You getting kicked off a platform is having your right, like being censored off a platform, is having your right to free speech and free expression being taken from you. Me blocking you is simply disengaging. I can disengage with you. I have the right to do that. And that's not being anti-free speech. And if you think you should be able to force me into needing to have a conversation with you, that we go from free speech to you attempting to control me and take my right to walk away from me. So either you understand what free speech is or you don't. I don't really care. I'm just telling you how it is. It's not a difference in opinion. It's a fact. At any point in the open square of ideas, I can disengage from debate or conversation with you. And that's my right to walk away. That's what blocking somebody is on X or YouTube. It's me disengaging. It's not me being anti-free speech. And as long as I'm not trying to get you censored or kicked off a platform, I'm not doing anything anti-free speech. I'm disengaging from conversation and debate. I can do that as an individual, and a group can do that to you too. A group of people could just choose to not talk to you. That's their right. That's not them taking your right away to speak on the open platform. At any point, you can make a video or make a public post and say something about me. You have all the right in the world on the open platform to say what you want. Many people make videos about me and streams about me, so obviously they have the right to freely speak as much as they want. So people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby, either you understand free speech or you don't, but I just got to say, when you call blocking you anti-free speech, you're stupid. You're dumb. That means you don't even understand what free speech is. Sorry, and even if you're not just naturally dumb, you're being stupid. I hate to be so harsh, but I think I have to make the point. Like it is just false. It's completely false to say that blocking you is anti-free speech. Completely false. Like it's false, like 1 + 1 = 2, factually false. I can disengage in conversation with you whenever I damn well please. And you don't have to like it. I'm sure many people won't like somebody walking away from them if they want to keep up a discussion or want to keep debating, right? You might not like it, but you can't say it is someone kicking you out of the open square of ideas. You can't say that disengaging from you, blocking you, is kicking you off a platform. And if we look at the platform like the open square of ideas, you have the right on YouTube to keep talking, make videos. And again, I block people and they have no problem making videos about me in streams. So they're not censored. They have the right to speak, but I have the right to disengage. And by disengaging from them, that is not a form of anti-free speech. And it's like, if you want to talk about this, educate yourself. Like, if you don't understand what free speech is, go educate yourself. Everything I'm saying right now is 100% correct. At any time in the open square of ideas, I can walk away from having a conversation or debate with you. That's my right. That's my right. I can choose to disengage. That's what blocking you is. Disengaging from having a conversation with you. That's all it is. And it's not anti-free speech to block you. The same thing, it's not anti-free speech to walk away from you. Right? Again, getting you kicked off a platform or getting where you can't even make a comment on the platform, that is censorship. That is anti-free speech. Again, many people I block on X or on YouTube freely say things about me on X or YouTube because they're not shut up. Nobody is censoring them. Nobody is preventing people from making videos or streams about me. Right? It's you like, just educate yourself better. Like, I know it's people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby. I get free speech is not your thing, but I just see people out there all the time accusing people of being anti-free speech when that person is blocking you. No, you being blocked is someone disengaging from having a conversation or debate with you, and they have the right to do that. If that person turned around and reported you on the platform, trying to get you kicked off or censored, that is anti-free speech. That is true anti-free speech. That is opposing your right to speak in the open square if we count a platform as the open square. So I don't report anyone. I don't try to get anyone kicked off of any platform. But will I block you? Meaning, will I disengage from having a debate or conversation with some people? Yes. And I tell people exactly why I do that. If you only have insults and deceit, and that's all you bring to the dialogue, I will disengage from interacting with you. That's it. So I told people forever the reason I block people. You lie, I block you. You insult, I block you. If you bring something fair, even if you disagree with me to the conversation, as many people know from my live streams, many people disagree with me. That's not an issue. I have no problem with debate. Open debate, I do it on the streams here all the time. I'm not scared of it. Doesn't bother me. But if you bring deceit or insults, you go. And I mean, like, deceit as, and I don't care how you paint up your statements. Like, I'll call people on deceit if it's like, well, I'm trying to paint it up like it's legit. Yeah, I see through that guy. Right? But that's disengaging. That is disengaging. At any time, I have the right to disengage from having debates or conversations with you. That's a right I have to walk away. Right? That's not anti-free speech. There, done. It's just like, educate yourself about free speech before you run around calling people anti-free speech. Just stop lying. Stop doing that to people. There's lots of people I don't even like. I don't even personally like the guys, but I'll see people accusing them of being anti-free speech. I'm like, no, they're not. But he blocked me. That's disengaging with you. If he reports you on the platform to get you censored or kicked off, that's anti-free speech. If he blocks you, that is disengaging. That is walking away from you, which he has the right to do. At no point by walking away from you is he stopping you from speaking. And that can be proven with me. I block many people. They go on X and say things about me because they have the right to speak freely. They make videos and streams about me because they have the right to speak freely. And I'm not reporting them on X or on YouTube to have them censored or be taken off the platform. Right? Because I respect free speech. But that's real. The reason I'm a free speech advocate, I'm completely like, I'm an absolutist when it comes to free speech. Yet I'll block people all day long. How can I say I'm an absolutist about free speech and then block you if it is anti-free speech? I'd be a hypocrite. Well, I know I'm not. I'm disengaging with you, which I have the right to do. At no point are you stopped from speaking out loud. You can express yourself all day. Streams, videos about me, post on X, right? Because you have the right to speak. You have the freedom to speak out loud and express yourself. And I do not take that away from you, even when I block you. It's like, well, you can't comment. Well, a group can choose to not engage with you as well as individuals. That's just a choice they can make. At no point is your right to freely speak and express yourself being taken from you on the platform. If we're counting the platform like YouTube as the open square. So if you want to go around, like, understanding, it's just educate yourself better on free speech. Yes, I'm talking to people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby. I just started, probably not much. Just basically what you heard below is what I've been peeling off. That and DragonQuest is a very tactical game. DragonQuest is a great proof. It's if you think AD&D 1E is wargaming, a game like DragonQuest shows up, made by a wargamer, hardcore wargamer, who proves the point that, yeah, no, it's not, or we wouldn't have even made this. If AD&D 1E was taking care of this properly, you wouldn't see DragonQuest. They'd play AD&D. It's a complete tactical game, pure tactical. And the combat is more like the sort of miniature tactical combat you see with 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 5th edition, because 3E, when Plastic Miniatures comes out, leans more into miniatures than TSR D&D. I don't care what you think of WotC Gaming, it is more wargaming than AD&D 1E. 3rd edition is more of a war game as far as tactical gameplay than AD&D 1E. 4th edition is clearly more tactical than AD&D 1E. 5E is more tactical wargaming combat than AD&D 1E. So when you say AD&D 1E is wargaming, well, wargamers didn't agree. So they made games that they would consider actual games based really, truly on wargaming. Extremely tactical. DragonQuest is an extremely tactical game. Extremely. D100 percentage though. So it's roll under. Weapons are very different in their feel. Like they keep their speed, but there's a lot of things. Positioning is important. The amount of movement you can do. It's like 5 seconds burst of action. So you can do a lot of actions, and what you do at the start of a round can even affect what you're going to do later. So you can split up your actions and move around. Combat can take a lot longer in DragonQuest than it can in TSR Dungeons and Dragons. It can take almost it almost works in very similar ways to 3E, 4E, and 5E. So people that say WotC is not D&D, fair enough, I know, because it's not wargaming. I mean TSR. TSR D&D is not wargaming. WotC is more related to wargaming than TSR Dungeons and Dragons. So when people say AD&D 1E is wargaming, I'm like, no, 3E, it takes it back to the roots of wargaming. 4E takes it back to the roots of wargaming. 5E is more wargaming than AD&D 1E. And you can see it, DragonQuest is extremely, extremely war game type game when it comes to the tactical combat, and it leans into it heavily. And you'll notice that WotC combat, because miniatures becomes a big thing at the time, that heavily, like WotC leans way more into the wargaming roots than any TSR Dungeons and Dragons game there is. So 3E is more wargaming, 4E, and 5E. Why do you think some of the guys that say they like wargaming ended up liking 4E? It's a very miniature-focused tactical game because miniatures becomes a big thing with WotC. Remember, miniatures is optional all the way through every edition of TSR. It becomes less optional when you hit 3E. That's plastic miniatures becoming almost a required thing to play the game. I know that's not what a lot of TSR guys want to hear, because they almost paint WotC D&D like it's stepped away from it. It's like, no, WotC D&D is more true to miniature wargaming tactical gameplay than TSR or D&D is. I mean, you wouldn't even need DragonQuest, to be honest. You wouldn't need TSR, like you wouldn't need DragonQuest if TSR AD&D 1E was taking care of this. Like they wouldn't have bothered making it that way. It's D100 again, but extremely tactical. Even the spell casting in DragonQuest is like in D&D, it can be more general, more thoughtful, and more, do what you want. Where spell casting in DragonQuest is more like there's specialized spell casting in D&D, but there's really only specialized spell casting in DragonQuest. DragonQuest is not completely classless. It's based on professions, but it's not the same as a normal leveling system like D&D. So when you improve your character, you're taking experience points and spending them on your character to improve skills and whatnot, right? To improve the character that way, like a gradual build over time on spending your experience points on your character in different ways. Positioning is extremely important. Weapons can feel very different because they're all like very detailed, because this is a wargaming type of tactical game. DragonQuest is. A lot of people, though, when they hear the title DragonQuest, they assume that's like probably more, less wargamey than D&D. I'm like, no, it's quite the opposite, because they think the title is going to be something like a, something more, in the fantasy realm. I'm like, well, it is definitely fantasy, medieval fantasy, but it is way more in the wargaming stuff than D&D is. TSR, Dungeons and Dragons. So when I hear guys from the AD&D 1E crowd say AD&D 1E is wargaming, and they'll say they hate watching, I'm like, well, let's be honest. No, AD&D 1E is not wargaming at all. At all. That's why DragonQuest is made in the first place, because it is wargaming. But 3rd edition is more in the wargaming roots than AD&D 1E. 4E is in the wargaming roots more than AD&D 1E. And 5E is definitely, again, more into the wargaming roots than AD&D 1E. AD&D 1E is walking away from wargaming, right? 3rd edition is returning to it. And that's why you get the plastic miniatures. It goes more miniature focused, more required for miniature gameplay. TSR kept moving away from all that stuff. There'd be optional miniature gameplay, but it moved away. Like the default mandatory way of playing TSR D&D is what? Pure theater of the mind. There's no third way to play. It's like there's no 3 ways to play D&D when it comes to the tactical, when it comes to fighting or combat, right? Major part of the game. There's 2 ways, either with miniatures or without. With miniatures, it's all optional from original right to 2nd edition, right? So that means if you don't use them, which most did not, that means mandatory is what? Pure theater of the mind combat. 3rd edition, because they bring up plastic miniatures, means way more depending on miniatures than any edition that TSR put out there. So tactical and free speech. So I tell people, look, I'm a free speech absolutist, and I'll block you all day long if you bring deceit or insults to me. If you bring nothing to the conversation, I'll disengage with you. That's all I'm doing. Just want to draw that point. That's not anti-free speech. Again, the only way it can be anti-free speech is if I report you and try to get you censored or kicked off the platform. So if we treat the platform like it's the open square of ideas, I'd have to be doing that to you. I'd have to be reporting you and trying to get you removed. That's anti-free speech. Blocking you is the same as disengaging with you. So even at the open square of ideas, I can choose not to talk to you and not to debate you. I have the right to do that. It's called disengaging. I can walk away. That's all blocking is on any of these platforms, is disengaging from having dialogue with you. And I can choose to do that at any time. That is not anti-free speech. And I'm a free speech absolutist. So I know this really well. I know the topic really well. Go educate yourself on free speech before you go out there and accusing everyone around of being anti-free speech because they're blocking you. Just not true. Complete lie. And I get it might be your ignorance. You might be assuming because you don't know enough about free speech. Fair enough. Go become unignorant. Educate yourself on it, and you'll realize Stephen's right. It's disengaging. Yeah, and people have the right to do that. Right? That's not you being censored. There you go. There you go. Dragon Quest is going to be fun. There's a lot of fun. I don't want to say too much. I said a lot already about Dragon Quest. I don't want to keep saying extremely pointing out the certain things because I'm giving the game away in many ways. But Dragon Quest, for people that are war gamers, a lot of them love it. They love Dragon Quest because it's extremely tactical in ways that D&D is not. Because D&D walks away from its wargaming roots for TSR. I mean, if you love wargaming that much, like if you're a person into the D&D world and you like wargaming, well, you should almost like you should be leaning into third edition. It's like why was there so many D&D old school D&D guys that liked 4E? Why? Because it goes heavy miniature use and heavy tactical, right? I mean, 3E is already moving in that direction with plastic miniatures, easier, accessible miniatures, right? They're already moving in that direction. 4E moves extremely into the direction. 5E stays there, but eases up a bit back towards where some of the third edition was before 4E. But that's why 4E is liked by a lot of old school guys that say they like miniature wargaming, because WotC D&D is more into the wargaming roots than any TSR edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Again, Dragon Quest is a reaction to the lack of tactical combat in D&D. It doesn't mean there's no roots there, but it's just saying it's not enough to appease wargamers. D&D, TSR D&D is moving away from its roots as it advances. That's not what wargamers want. They want to move right into it. That's what Dragon Quest does. That's what third edition does. That's what fourth edition does in 5E from WotC. So if you're mad at, you might be mad at certain themes or something with the WotC stuff, but as far as gameplay, if you're someone who likes the wargaming roots of D&D, I can't see how you look at the gameplay for 3E, 4E, and 5E and get mad. I just don't see it. Right? I personally like old school TSR D&D because it's not exactly like wargaming. Rollmaster guy, Mr. Philo. Oh yeah. It's if you like the fucking grittiness of fucking Rollmaster wargaming, you're going to like Dragon Quest. But no, you're saying that's to your own opinion, Philo. It really comes down to personal taste here. So no, not better. Actually, because combat takes so long, I would say it's personally for me a million times worse. So yeah, I don't like 3E. I don't like 4E. I don't like 5E. Dragon Quest is more like 3E, 4E, and 5E WotC D&D in the combat zone. I personally don't like that because it almost makes you have to lean to the miniature stuff for tactical gameplay. And Dragon Quest failed because it pours on when there just isn't the market for that stuff, and the gameplay is not there because it's going to cost you a lot to play the game. It leans heavily into and exhaustion is another area. Encumbrance, it just went to the extremes that D&D was walking away from. So D&D is walking away from wargaming. That's when Dragon Quest says, nope, let's go back. Right? And I'm like, I get it. But I just always thought to myself, tabletop role-playing games is not wargaming. I'm not trying to insult wargamers, but I'm like, I sort of understood what wargamers at first were worried about, but actually it's sort of weird. When D&D first comes out, if you go back and check out the complaints from wargamers, they think the hobby is trying to replace what they do. And then later, they actually stop complaining. They're actually laughing about D&D. Okay, it's not replacing what we're doing. But instead of being okay with that, ironically, they start getting into the hobby and trying to revert it towards wargaming. I'm like, well, if you were worried it was trying to replace what you're doing, why are some of you now coming in outside of D&D and trying to make a game that potentially I guess if you see it as trying to replace what you do, replace what you do. All right, so it's sort of weird as they become a worrywart about it for so many years here. Complaints from wargamers, it's trying to replace us. That completely dies down. They don't have to know exactly. DragonQuest it does, 3E it does, 4E it does, and 5E it does to the extremes, right? But they don't have to. I personally have nothing against this. Like, look, if you like extremely tactical stuff, fair enough. I have no issue with it at the end of the day in many ways. But I always thought like it should just be its own thing. But that's personal opinion. That's why I like TSR D&D, because it gets away. It's boring ideas, but it's almost like I said this before, DK. So if you've heard in my recent content, a tabletop role-playing game uses some wargaming, some acting, performance, and some narrative, and it makes a unique game. So performing is like talking in character. Narrative elements, these are elements, not the full thing. So you're not like full-on storytelling, but you might be doing character development. You're not full-on doing an acting play, but you'll be talking in character, doing some performance. You're not full-on doing a war game. You're borrowing elements from that type of board gaming. And the combination makes up what we call a tabletop role-playing game, something unique from all three. And I don't like the idea of pigeonholing the game into a drama class, into a storytelling exercise, or into only a board game. It's like these things already exist. We do not need to pigeonhole this into one of those three. It's like there's already drama class. We don't need to make the game drama class. There's already storytelling, novels and everything else. We don't need to make this storytelling. There's already wargaming, like board games and wargame. We don't need to make this. This is a unique thing that combines elements from all three to make something completely different, separate from those things, right? And, to me, that was already established, but, people do whatever they want to do. But many people want to say, this is a war game, so they want to just pigeonhole it into a board game, or they want to pigeonhole it into a drama class. And you get it, and people complain on either side to the extremes. They'll be like, all they want to do is worry about character development and acting, like the narrative or drama class, or they'll be like, and these are the wargamer guys that just want to do board gaming. I'm like, God, I'm against all extremes. I don't want this to be drama class. I don't want this to be storytelling. I don't want this just to be a fucking board game. It is a unique thing that uses elements from all three areas to make something up that is separate. And to me, that's good enough, right? Yeah, and it's not trying to attack people that like I think it's cool that there's elements like, so if you're someone who likes a little bit of talking in character and a little bit of performance, cool, there's a little bit of that here. If you like elements of storytelling, like character development, which I think is good for connecting with your character for a better experience, I like the elements. I think that's good. I think it's actually good because it really does make you connect and get into the world. Old school really appreciate when they talk about character development being a new thing. I'm like, no, old school wants you to experience the world through the character. Well, one way you do that is connecting through your character through the element, like that element of storytelling, the character development part, right? You develop a character, you know who they are, you start getting to know that guy. It's almost like you're forming a relationship with your character. It makes you care about the character. When you care, then it starts mattering what happens to them. That deepens the experience in a good way for what you're doing. But I like the combat. I do like the elements that we're using. I do like some action and some thrill and some moving around the character and at least caring about some of that stuff, right? And I like faster combat. That's why I like elements instead of getting right into the hardcore board game that could take a long time for a fight, right? And war games, I get it. They like, that's all they're doing is their war game, board game. Take forever. That's what the game is. But for this, I want fighting to be a little faster. That's why I thought D&D, old school, AD&D especially, going from first to second, achieves a lot of this. It finally, second edition, finally acknowledges the one last thing TSR needed to acknowledge. Who the character is matters, right? We already got social interaction from OD&D on, and the game still cares about some elements of fighting, which is still taking some things out or allowing you to speed up the process. It's like TSR found a great middle ground, which a lot of people seem to not appreciate. Right? I'm like, it's just whatever. So at least I'm in the middle. Oh, then you get your people on the extremes, and they want to pigeonhole what we do into these things. And I get it. And then some designers have their opinions too. Like DragonQuest is a great example of someone taking a tabletop role-playing game and trying to pigeonhole it more into a board game than in mixing the three elements together. And I have nothing. I don't mind DragonQuest. I don't think it's like a horrible game, but it does try to pigeonhole what a tabletop role-playing game is into a more of a board game. And I'm like, well, if you want to play a board game, play a board game. So I'm glad. I sort of figured. I know you've been around for a while, DK. I sort of figured you probably heard my argument on this because I made it years ago too. So I know you've been around for a while with me. Not the first time I brought some of this stuff up, but yeah, I like the middle ground, and it's always, it seems like a struggle with certain people in the hobby that are very loud to establish what a tabletop role-playing game is when everyone tries to pigeonhole it. Designers try to pigeonhole it into one thing. Loud, a minority, and minority, it's not the majority. Silent, the majority is always silent, right? But there is a minority and some game designers that try to pigeonhole tabletop role-playing games into either a board game, a drama class, or even just a pure storytelling exercise. And one extremist will be mad at the other. So the guys that want to make it only a board game will get mad at people that only want it to be a drama class, or they'll get mad at people that only mainly want to turn it into a storytelling exercise. And then the storytellers, the ones that want to take it into a storytelling exercise, will get mad at the people that say focus more on performance and storytelling in a certain way, but they'll get really mad at the people that are doing board gaming. Same thing with the people that just want to turn this into a drama class. They get mad at the people that only want to play a board game. So you get all sides of the extremes complaining about each other, right? And it's like, okay. But DragonQuest is interesting. And there's nothing like ideas, DK, if you're a fudge guy or a GURPS guy. What I like about GURPS and fudge people, I don't care. Like I'm not big into doing those universal systems. But I don't mind the concept of universal systems. I like the concept of it. I do. I really do. Because I get it. It's the idea of getting into a tabletop role-playing game and stealing ideas. The fudge and GURPS guys, a lot of them will actually come around and silently watch a lot of my content. So I got a lot of GURPS and fudge people in my audience. A lot of them are very quiet people, but they'll listen to a lot of what I say because I cover so many different games because they like to steal ideas. And so I get it. So my channel brings such a variety of different games and content for tabletop role-playing games that they're like, I become like a gold mine for someone who does GURPS or fudge, right? Which I totally get that. Though, guys, almost 40 minutes in. I drank a couple monsters before we started. Be patient with me for a second. Be right back. Be right back. Oh, okay, back. So yeah, the other thing, DK, I just noticed was on. Put it this way, I'm in jail on X for probably a few more days, so I can't really post anything on X. But I've been checking out, like somebody sends me like, oh, people are fighting on X again, the tabletop role playing game hobby. I'm like, there's a side of me that is so happy that some people just reject me because I'm like, you know what? I like it that the more I'm rejected from conversations, the more it forces me into only talking to the people that support me and having great dialogue with honest people. See, if you notice, DK, if you've been watching some of these, a lot of the guys that come here don't agree with me, but we have respectable, honest conversations. I'm not afraid to debate, so there's a lot of guys that come here that just don't agree with what I say, and that's completely fine. As long as they're not insulting or being deceitful, you'll notice they're here all the time disagreeing. I mean, I'll be aggressive, but it's like we're just disagreeing, right? But it's honest, right? So it's I don't mind that, and at the end of the day, I give a shit about the people that support me, and I have great conversations, just great fucking people that aren't like hating on each other, which is good. I like that we can disagree, get along, and it's great. And I like that it's sort of, in a way, people that have rejected me in the old school pigeonhole me into in a positive way. For me, though, it's what I've realized recently. It's a blessing because they do this. I avoid most of the hateful fucking people out there and the hateful dialogue going on all the time. Like they hate on each other. There's a lot of negativity, threads of conversations, post, just attacking each other all day. And I realize I don't take part in any of that. Mainly because they reject me out of the conversation. But because of that, I don't take part in it. And since I'm outside that negativity, I'm very happy with my interactions online. And I realized recently, you know what is, I used to think about, it's a negative I'm kicked out of the conversation. I should see it that way. But I've recently seen it as like in the last like couple weeks, it's a blessing. Like it's a true blessing that I stay out of the negativity, especially for just my mental health coming on here. It keeps me out of the negativity. It keeps me talking to honest people, right, in a good conversation. And I realize I'm just outside of the hate circle, and there's a lot of it, tribal shit, people hating on each other, attacking, deceit. And I'm like, well, I don't care if you lie about me. I got my own circle of people, and they don't listen to you. So I notice all the guys that attack me now. Like, I'm like, yeah, you're just talking to people that already don't like me. It's nothing I got to worry about. Like, I won't lose any support because you're saying what you're saying about me, right? But it's been a blessing. But one of the recent conversations I seen, which I was going on about earlier, was the free speech thing. It's because I've heard it so many times over the years, tabletop role playing game people online think that if you block them, you're anti free speech. Like they don't understand free speech at all. They just don't understand the basic idea of what blocking is. It's called disengaging from the conversation with you. And it's as long as you're allowed to speak in the open square, meaning say the platform, you have the right to say what you want and express yourself. That's free speech. So, and here's an example of it. I block people, which I disengage with, but they still make streams and videos about me. And they can freely do that, express themselves and say what they want, because I don't report them or try to get them kicked off the platform. That's so their freedom of speech is protected in the process, right? If you could be on YouTube and make a stream about me or make a video about me, you have the right to say what you want and express yourself. If I block you, that's my choice to disengage having a debate or conversation directly with you, right? No, that's true. That's so true. Very few. It's either you agree or it's the negative yummy. Very few people honestly disagree. Yeah. If you, it's not even that the people trigger them. It's that they can't handle disagreement. I'm like, and so they'll all regret having their negativity blow up with each other because it's. I would say it's not the individual that makes them mad usually. It's they can't handle an opposing opinion. So it causes conflict with people that don't even want to have conflict with each other to begin with. It's like there's Tom and and Adam. Tom and Adam really don't hate each other personally. But if Tom mentions something that Adam disagrees with, Adam can't handle an opposing opinion. It's not that he hates Tom, he hates the opposing opinion. right? And that's where the guys aren't having honest dialogue. There's a guy that comes on here. We recently talked, Miles, and I'm very happy, very blessed that he comes on here. He has some strong opinions where usually the two sides would just there'd be never be honest discussion between people. He comes on here with certain opinions, but we have a talk, and I don't mind opposing opinions. I'm forced to explain myself if I disagree with him, and that's healthy. That's healthy that you need to explain yourself when you want to have a talk instead of getting just mad at the opposing opinion. I can get very passionate because I care about the issue, of course, and I hope it shows. I'm not ashamed of showing, oh, being forward, being a bitter, that's passion. But I still choose, I have to explain myself and not tell Miles to shut up. So even though Miles will say something I'll disagree with, it's not Miles, shut up. It's here. I have to explain myself. I have to explain myself. And that's healthy dialogue. Like, I might not like his opinions, but it's not enough that makes me hate Miles or Miles hates me. It's I'm forced to explain myself when we have the dialogue, not just run away, not just scream, not just attack. Because Tom and Adam really don't hate each other. It's just Adam can't handle opposing opinions. I can handle opposing opinions. And if I'm open to this dialogue where Miles is open to say what he wants, I have to explain myself, which is healthy for the conversation. It's healthy to hear these opinions to move the dialogue along. And that's healthy for any walk, like any part of life. It's healthy to have these debates, these conversations, because you learn. You're forced to explain yourself and you learn, and it progresses what you're doing. Right? So I have to explain myself. Adam and Tom just start attacking each other, or Adam will start attacking Tom. Adam is not he's not wrestling with Tom's opposing opinions. He's dismissing it. So I get mad at people that dismiss, because dismiss means you're not confronting it. You're not explaining yourself. You're dismissing it, right? Like, don't play deceit. Deceit is just dishonest. It's just either you attack or you dismiss, but you're doing something that is not good for the dialogue. That's where Adam will hate Tom. It's not that he really hates Tom. He hates opposing opinions. And a lot of people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby are very dishonest when it comes to dealing with people with opposing opinions. Either they attack them to dismiss the person, not even to argue against it. Say Tom brings up the idea. Tom will be attacked by Adam, not because Adam really hates Tom, but Adam thinks if he lies about Tom and says Tom has no credibility, it kills the credibility of the opposing opinion. Right? So that's one deceitful way to get rid of an opposing opinion. Not to confront it, not to have to explain yourself, but to attack. Adam attacks Tom's character. Because if he can lie and make it seem like Tom is a bad person, well, now he doesn't have to wrestle with Tom's opposing opinion. He doesn't have to confront it. He can. That's a deceitful way to dismiss. Or if he uses dismissing language instead of wrestling with the idea, which is healthy for the conversation, Adam will say something like, yeah, that opinion doesn't matter, or you're wrong without explaining you're wrong. Like, you're wrong. Well, no, dude, you have to explain it. Nope, I'm going to say it's wrong to dismiss it. Right? So that's deceit again. That's back to deceit. That's what will happen with Adam going after Tom. Right? But does Adam really hate Tom? No. It's not Tom. It's the opinion. Right? And that's why it becomes an echo chamber. So if Tom says what Adam agrees with, Adam won't bother lying about Tom. Adam won't dismiss what Tom says. But Tom has to say what he agrees with. That's where you get the yes man issue. This is where you get the echo chamber. Right? Because it becomes, you can't disagree. You got to say what people agree with. And then it's suddenly like, if I say something some of the tabletop role-playing game guys disagree with, then if something isn't perfect in my background, oh, that's a big issue. But then they'll go watch other YouTubers that will have a filthy mess in their background, but that YouTuber says something they agree with. So suddenly the background isn't an issue. Suddenly it's completely okay and acceptable. And they won't even see their own bias. Like, if you ask them, what about that guy over there? Well, it's okay. It's not that bad. What about the guy that you says things that you disagree with? Well, he's just a fucking scum, blah, 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 blah. Like, suddenly the issue is an issue here, but it's not an issue there. It should just be, if they really have the opinion, it should be on both of us. But they don't really care about the background. That's deceit. That's an attack to dismiss me. And why dismiss me? It's not really me that they're mad at. It's that I am sharing an opposing opinion. And they are mad at the opinion. They do not want to deal with an opinion that they don't agree with. That's why they have their biased take on me. That's why they'll put a standard on me. They won't put on the guy that they agree with. They'll make excuses for the guy they agree with. That says what they want to hear. Right? And it's so obvious. It's been going on the tabletop role-playing game online for years. In the old school, it's more than any other part of the hobby. The old school is more guilty for what I just said, DK, than any other part of our hobby. You go over to the new school, the audience will sit there and support Matt Colville when they disagree with him 30% of the time. 70% is good enough to get their support. Go to the old school, if you say 3% of what the audience doesn't like, most of them will pull their support for you. So you have to say almost 100% of what they agree with, almost. And if you say enough of what they agree with, you can push the line a bit more. You can say 5% of what they don't agree with. But it's not like the new school. The new school will still support you if you say 70% of what they agree with and 30% of what they don't. And that's why I say the old school is extreme. Extreme in tribalism, extreme in echo chambers, and it is more that part of the hobby than any other part. And you can see it based on evidence. Go check it out. All kinds of the YouTubers over in the new school say things that the audience, 30% they don't agree with, and they'll still support the guys en masse. Right? That's why our YouTubers would be doing better if our audience wasn't so shallow and stingy on what they're willing to accept. Yeah, I just got to be, and that's not all there's individuals in the audience that are great. There's all kinds of individual great people in the old school, but I'm talking about the majority, at least the watching majority for sure. And where the hobby is more positive, what's ironic, most of the people in the old school end up going to the audiences in the new school. So Matt Colville will have more old school people watch him than any old school tabletop role-playing game focused YouTuber. And if you took all of the audience of every old school YouTuber and combined it all, Matt Colville's old school audience would still dwarf the totality of our entire audience. And so when we talk about tribalism in the hobby, we have to be honest about where it is. Because the old school will always say, oh, they have a problem. No, it's not like ours. Stop. It's deceitful to compare the new school to the old school in that way. They're way more social in the new school. The old school is a fucking problem. Like, we have an extreme problem here that we are not honest about. Period. End of story. And as long as we're dishonest about it, nothing changes. We have to be honest about the issues here, and we have to be honest that the issues are here and not elsewhere. And once people accept the truth, finally, things can change. Things can get better. Things can progress. But guess what they'll do? I'll say all this, and then they'll find ways to dismiss everything I just said. But it's that deceitful dismissal that is what they've been doing for decades, especially online. This is how we got to the issues that we have. It's the deceit, either lie about the person like me, like attack me because they don't want to agree with what I said. It's not really, I've said over the years, people don't hate me. They don't like what I got to say about tabletop role-playing games. And I keep pointing this out to everyone. I keep drilling on this detail because it's not me they hate. They just do not like to hear opinions that they disagree with. And they'll attack me to kill, they'll lie about me to destroy my credibility, but they think by doing so, that means they take care of all the arguments they don't want to hear. And I'm like, it's not me. That's why some of the guys will actually be somewhat happy to talk to me at one point, because they spent years attacking me, but in reality, in reality, they really don't hate me. And that's why I'll get this weird. I'll be attacked, but then they'll want me to go on the stream and talk. If you really attack someone because you really don't like them, that won't be the case. You won't want to stream with them later. It's just a warped thing. So what will guys do? Again, they can't freak out if I say something about tabletop role-playing games that they don't like. They can't freak out and lose their minds in public. They can't crash out. That would be immature for older men to be doing that, right? They can't do that. So if they can't crash out, what do they got to do? They got to lie about me so then they can crash out. Why do you think recently, when they put an image up of a fake receipt, they put up a fake receipt that made it seem like I did something, but it wasn't a real receipt, but it was communicated like it was, but it was just an image of a receipt that wasn't even real. When people started attacking me about that, go check out the chats. Go follow the chats of the streams where guys were attacking me. They were fucking, it was an excited reaction. They were giddy. They were crazy giddy because it was a chance to crash out, right? And what they felt was, oh, we're justified now. We're really mad at him about what he said about tabletop role-playing, but we can't express it in public. But finally, we can call him evil. Now we can crash out in public without shame because we're accusing him of something major. Go check out the chat. You'll see the chat goes psycho. And you'll know they're all fucking disturbed. They're all fucking disturbed people. You check out the chat and they're fucking just fucking giddy, man. They're giddy like people that have been fucking desperate to crash out on me for years. You can't crash out on me for what I say about the game because it would just be too much, but you want to. Imagine old guys that have been just quietly holding back in frustration with me. And not because they personally hate me, but they're so fucking mad about what I say. But you can't crash out like that in public over fucking gaming opinions. So they wouldn't. So imagine when they finally think they got me. They got something. They crash out for that reason. That's why they were unfair with me. It was complete crash out over I got to tell you, the day they got mad about the fake receipt, it wasn't the fake receipt, man. I told everyone that. It wasn't the fake receipt they crashed out on. They crashed out getting giddy, going on about me because of what I say about the games. That's it. End of fucking story. There. And I don't think I can explain it better than I just did. Again, poor Adam and Tom. I wish guys would realize that because there'd be a lot less hate between people if they could just realize it's the opposing opinion, it's the opinions of games that they're losing their minds over. And the reason they're this way, DK, most of these guys started online with the forums before YouTube and Facebook. And the old school, especially, spent decades having complete control of the dialogue. If you went on any forum that was old school and shared an opinion they didn't want, you got banned. You couldn't even be heard. They had an iron fist of control over all dialogue. Complete control over public dialogue. And it's YouTube and places like Facebook that broke their control. But imagine you in the old school, and you spent decades being used to having complete control over what we say in the hobby. Imagine having that much fucking control. And that's what they had. They had an extreme amount of control over the public dialogue. So if you said anything in the old school, most of the old school guys didn't agree with, especially the loud voice ones, you're banned. And by banning you from the forums, your opinions, not just you, it's not you being banned. It's your opinions that they don't agree with that are being banned. That's what's being banned. They weren't banning me. They were banning what I said. They weren't banning these other guys. They were banning the opinions that they didn't agree with. So it wasn't that they even hated me back then. They hated the opinions that they didn't agree with. It continues now. Has never changed. And it's why they lose their fucking minds, because they're so used to having control. It's like, guys, you got to give up control. You got to give up a bit of it. But it is what it is. What am I supposed to say? I don't care. Keep hating me. Because you spent 7 years attacking me over it. I'm gone. Oh, I agree, Bill. That's 1,000,000% I've given up. Like I won't go on streams with them. I won't like it's like they fucked up with me too long. It's like I get you don't hate me, you hate the opinions. But you went too far. That's the problem. They'll wait years and they finally want to like they didn't actually hate me. They want to talk to me, but I'm like telling guys, the problem is you made me not like you. Like your years of attacks over trying to dismiss my opinions, the problem is you made me not like you. That's the problem. You spent too much time on it, and it got to the point where I don't like not you, Bill, but you know what I mean. I'm talking about the people I'm talking about here. They made me not like them. So now it's like I just disengage with them. Oh, Bill, the same thing. You're an old school guy just like me. Now, Bill, I imagine you've had some similar experience too. In person, I've had fun talking to other gamers about stuff we disagree with on. I know lots of guys that love miniatures in person that love me, and I love them. And it's not even a big issue to them. Like they are just not religious about this stuff. If I go up and say, hey, I think pure theater of the mind combat is a little faster, and that means you stay in the flow. It's better for the imagination staying in the flow. They're like, yeah, probably. But we like miniatures. And they'll jokingly say, so fuck you. I'll smile, they'll smile, we'll go get coffee. That's what I grew up with. So to get on here and say my opinion, even if you disagree or you don't care, you can't. It's again, it's not me that people hate. It's what I said. So it's that. And what do they do if they can't argue or just dismiss outright what I'm saying? Because I'm in the conversation, what you got to do? You got to lie about me, and you got to attack me, and you tear down my character. And by doing so, you think you dismiss what I say with me. That's a way to control the dialogue. Take opinions you don't agree with and push them off of the table. They can't even be part of the open dialogue or the open conversation. So I grew up in person being able to talk about this stuff. So it shocked me, I won't lie to you, Bill, when I got on with the forums being banned for saying things people don't agree with. It wasn't me. I was a perfect angel. You could tear back in my history when I was like fucking 20. Of course I talk some shit. I was never a perfect fucking angel. So you can find some things where I'm being a fucking dillhole, but most of the time I get straight up banned was just over opinions. Like I'd be just like, I said this, and I knew most of the guys wouldn't agree with that. Banned, and not just banned. The statements that make me look like an asshole, of course, they stay up, right? If I had some like argument with someone, but all the ones where I made fucking credible fucking debates or opinions where they didn't agree with it, all those statements have been deleted. So you won't find those in my past if you search on my shit in the past on the forums. You'll find where I'm being a bit of an ass when I was like 20 years old, no doubt. That's like back in the year 2000, right around there. That's a long time ago for me, back in my early 20s. You can find some of the old posts if you dig back far enough. Well, he's being an asshole here. But all the credible posts I made are all fucking deleted. Delete it and ban. Delete it and ban. They wouldn't just ban me. They would delete all the credible things I said along with banning me. That's what you call complete iron fist control over the public dialogue of our games. And it's an attempt to control the narrative going forward. But like it's done nothing for us in the old school. Because all it does is continue ideas that have already failed in the past. So I'm like, if you need to improve and change and see errors and have open discussion, it's good to have the open discussion to improve what you're doing, especially if you've thrown an idea at the wall 500 times and it's failed. At one point, you got to realize if you tried it 500 fucking times and it failed, trying it another 500 times probably means you're still going to fucking fail. It is a show of insanity. Like, dude, you've tried 500 times, old school guys. Your idea is purely as pitched, stays with the minority of you, no doubt, but doesn't work with the majority and won't sell that way. They have failed with the majority. You're trying an idea that has failed and you don't want to alter it. You don't want to make changes. You don't want to have any open dialogue that alters what you're trying to do. Oh, I hear you. But see, I wish the guys would have just been open to having the debates and the open dialogue, because guess what? In the new school, they do. In the video game world, they do. And other areas where things have improved, not perfectly, but where you have seen, say, better games come out, because designers hear opinions. And how do they hear the opinions that made them make a new game that was improved? People had to complain. I'll give you a small example of something that improved a movie recently. The Sonic movie. Lots of people like Sonic. Well, what happened when they put up the first trailer? The first trailer makes the character look like a tall, weird looking, ugly thing. But the complaints, what happened? The director had two choices: listen to what people say or dismiss them. If he dismisses them, he's going to have a movie that comes out that's going to bomb, and the character looks ugly. If he's willing to listen to opinions he doesn't agree with, he might make a change. And he does. He listens to opinions he doesn't agree with initially. He takes them in, considers it, and improves the character. When the movie comes out, they make shitloads of money for it. Doesn't bomb, he gets it right. It might, and he had to listen to harsh dialogue to get to make that change. But it's needed. You need, and sometimes the debates or conversations early on, if they would have started packing like in the forums, of course they start messy because people don't even know how to debate correctly, right? They don't know how to debate correctly, so they got to learn. You got to improve over time. If you allow the debates and conversations like that to happen, people simply get better at it, and the standards go up too. So then the debates later don't look like garbage. You're not going to dismiss them anymore. Now it doesn't look like, if we would have started in 2000 and you let debates go forward, by the year 2015, the debates would have been impressive to listen to. They'd be entertaining for me and you, Bill. They wouldn't be garbage, trash, throwaway things. And we'd be impressed because it would have been better debates. The people that had higher standards, better for the debates, would have stepped up. The debates would have been progressive and interesting as you learn stuff and you're entertained by them. But you got to start messy. And here we are, 2026, in the old school. We still haven't started. And we've been around since 1974. Like if you count the old school, like the concept of the old school, 1974 to 2026. And we haven't even started the messy process of debates, which could take you a decade. It'd be less than 20 years, but it could take you a little over a decade to allow the freedom of talk to happen in debates, and for it to clean up, for it to become truly a positive thing. But you have to let it happen. Problem is, we've been around, if you count the old school community, since 1974 and 2026, we still have not allowed it to happen. So no progression, still stuck in the past, no moving ahead. And people forget when Shadow Dark came out, Shadow Dark got I had to make videos. I have an old video out, and a bunch of people agree with me back in the day. When Shadow Dark first came out from Kelsey, here's what's weird. Kelsey went on to go on streams and talk to people about a year or so later. But almost everybody from the old school she talked to at first attacked her. Now, they cover up their attacks. When Shadow Dark first appears, almost the entire old school fucking just tries to verbally destroy her. I'm talking like old school YouTubers, all the content creators start just attacking her. Not all, but a lot. Start attacking her, crucifying her, trying to verbally hang her, trying to destroy her, criticizing her game. But they didn't have enough sway to push her down, and she became very popular too quickly. So what happens? After about a year, a lot of the guys that attacked her were embarrassed that they were part of that. And here she is coming around to talk to old school people, go on their streams. And so what did a lot of guys do? They pretended like they didn't attack her at all. They had her go on streams where they didn't even mention that they first criticized her when she first came out. I had to make a video after the first month and a half of her being around. And I defended her. Like I do a lot of people. Like I've defended Pundit in the past, and I'm not a big fan of his. But because about say freedom of speech, I've defended DD, another guy. I'm only mentioning positive ways, not in any attack way. I defended these guys when they've been censored or attacked. When it came to her, a month and a half in, because they were attacking her so viciously, I said, "You guys got to stop attacking her. You got to stop attacking her in her game." And the guys I was talking about a year or so later, they have her on streams and they don't even have the fucking nerve to tell her that they attacked her and went after her. Just a fucking deceitful shit. Now, I'm still not a big fan of Shadow Dark, but I have nothing. From day one, I never had nothing against her and her fucking game. I didn't care. Lots of games out there. I don't gonna like your game to like. I'm not gonna hate you because I don't like your fucking game. Like I didn't attack her. I defend her a month and a half in. I put a video just saying you guys got to stop. At least some of the old school guys agreed with me. Not a lot, but some of the old school guys came along and went, "Yeah, dude, you're actually right. Like they got to stop attacking her." Because they were they were whipping on her verbally the second she showed up. Want to know why? Because what happens when you do something that alternates away from what the old school guys want to pitch with the old school? Because she's coming in saying she's OSR, but she's leaning towards 5e. And how do these guys react to anything that is alternative away from what they're doing? They fucking freak out, dismiss, attack, lie, censor you, the whole 9 yards. What do you think they start trying to initially do with her? They freaked out. So I had to defend her. It's ironic. I never talked to her or had her on a fucking stream, but I watched her go on streams where I was like, yeah, those people aren't even going to mention to her that they were trying to fucking crucify her verbally when she first showed up in the scene. They're having her on a stream like, "Oh, we love you, Kelsey." I was like, yeah, not in the first fucking month or so you didn't. You fucking hated her fucking guts and tried to destroy her and lie about her. Saying she wasn't old school, she doesn't know nothing, her fucking game is trash, she's trash. I'm like, yeah, you said all that stuff. And here you are, she's on the stream and they're like, "We love you, Kelsey." I'm like, yeah, I watched. I know you guys you're fully like, you gotta love her now that you have no choice. Because they tried to attack her and it didn't work. That's what happened with Kelsey. They tried to do that. And so once you allow them to, like, I wish they would have realized they didn't work on Kelsey. The reason it doesn't work on me no more is because I walked away from the echo chamber in their audience. So it's like, I don't care. You guys say all you want. You're in a fucking echo. When I tell you you're in a bubble echo chamber, I'm not joking. You have no effect on me now on YouTube. That's what the old school doesn't get. Like that part of old school anyway. They're completely in an echo chamber and they don't understand they're in an echo chamber. I hope they wake up to it one day. I hope they realize it. It's like, dude, you're in a fucking bubble. Like everybody in your bubble already hates me. If you make a video or a stream about attacking me as if you're going to make new people hate me, it's not going to be new people. It's the same people. But that's it. In my audience, I've actually, because I've had to gather people from outside of their echo chamber, my audience doesn't bother with them. It's like you, Bill, you're saying you avoid all that, right? You're one of the guys that avoid that stuff. That's why you're here. And they don't get that. They don't get that all the guys following me are guys like yourself that do not take part in the echo chamber. That's why it's like they have no sway over you. I wish they would clue into that, but they don't. They actually think when they do a stream, they're in their minds. I'm not kidding you, Bill. When they attack me, they actually think they're going to drive support for me away. I'm like, the only thing they've achieved, and I'll give it to them on this, their echo chamber audience won't support me. That audience, they've taken that from me. That no doubt, I give them that, because if I go back 7 years, I was rapidly growing with the same audience that now hates me from that echo chamber. I rapidly grew with them for a period of time before the attack started. And it's just like, yeah, it's like, dude, if you have an echo chamber and there's like 20 YouTubers in the echo chamber and they're all consistently telling the same lies about me, and it's happening on multiple streams and it's every week and fucking multiple videos, and then they do this for like almost 2 years and then deny they even did it, which is just how they are. But they did that till I called it character assassination. I kept telling them it's character assassination, and what you're doing is destroying me with that echo chamber audience. Fair enough, they did. I give it to them, but that means it's forced me to reinvent myself and look outside of them. And they don't understand that I've gathered an audience outside of their echo chamber. They don't get that. That's why they have no sway. They'll do a stream on me and notice I'm completely fine. They'll do videos on me and notice that I'm completely fine. Like even guys with almost 10,000 subs will sit there and do a video on me. Completely fine. Because they have to wake up. They're in an echo chamber. That's why they're having no push on me at all. And they can't reach out of their echo chamber because people outside of their echo chamber don't even know who these guys are. I'm like, yeah, you're famous in a bubble. Like, you're famous in a protected bubble. Outside of that bubble, you are nobodies. Nobody knows who you are at all. And I mean, nobodies. So at this point, I'm so far out of the echo chamber that let alone they know me, I know some other groups within the hobby. I know people that don't even know half of them exist, or probably even all of them. Like, dude, I in some cases, I probably am better known in some areas than they are, because I actually am forced. I had to reinvent myself. I was forced to go talk to other people. So now I know groups of people where I'll mention, like, do you know this guy? No. Do you know this guy? No. Okay, fair enough. I just won't talk about them. It's like guys like you will come across, Bill, and if I say half the names of the YouTubers from the bubble, you'd be like, who? And they don't get that they're not known outside of their echo chamber. They're really not. They're complete nobodies. They're just famous inside their own bubble. So, whatever. I don't hate them for it, but I think they miss out with me in the conversation because it's like I try to tell guys, it's like, I know my shit, dude. I enjoy the tabletop role-playing game talk. I can actually handle it. You probably would enjoy talking to me, but you fucked that up. So that's your bad. It's not mine. And they'll be like, well, why can't we just be cool and talk? I'm like, dude, you tried to destroy me on here. Like, they've done stuff where they don't get how extreme, like what they did, like the fake receipt thing. It's, even though they achieved nothing, what I tell them, it was the intent to destroy me, right, was overboard. That's so extreme. That is something you don't just casually forgive people on. Like, I can forgive, like, I can forgive as far as not hate them. So I choose not to hate them. But what it does is it makes me not want to give them a chance, right? Because it's like, man, like, just imagine if I give you a chance and you try to do something like that to me again. I don't want to make that easier. That was horrible intent. That was monstrous. That's trying to take someone's years of decades of hard work and totally destroy them for stupid, petty reasons because you disagree with me about some gaming opinions. Like, it's so far over the pale. Like, it's so unacceptable that it's so extreme to try to destroy someone's life. I've had some of them openly talk on X where I'll be shown posts, I ignore them, but they openly talk like violence is okay against me. Like, he's lucky somebody hasn't went down and attacked him. And they're like, yeah, like, they just talk like that's okay. And what have I said? Something about tabletop role-playing games. So it's okay to physically attack me, to physically harm me. Just casually okay. That's all. I've seen them on X. I've seen the conversations, the threads. Just casually okay. And they talk as if it is. It's just okay to physically harm Steven because he said something about a tabletop role-playing game that they disagreed with. So it's okay. Just casually okay. Like, guys, you have any idea how fucking over the line you have been? You have no idea. And you have a bias in your mind. You don't even see it. Well, I'm not in your circle, so I see everything for what it really is. To talk about like physically harming someone over opinions about a game, if you think that's okay, you're fucking crazy. You're fucking out of your fucking, you're out of your fucking damn mind. And I will not give insane people that type of time. That's why I won't go on your fucking streams. I won't talk to you. And then when I see some people I think could potentially be decent, I see them casually talking to the people that talked about doing physical violence to me, or that it's okay to do physical violence to me. I'll see them just casually talk to these people. Okay, well, you're cool with the guys that talk as if it's okay to physically attack me over opinions about a game. Okay, cool. I know who you are now. Or you tried to destroy me with the fake receipt image, and you're talking to those people like it's okay. It's okay. That was completely okay. Yeah, okay. I know who you are now. So the second I see people interacting with these people like they're fucking normal, right away I'm like, okay, well, you're part of that circle now, as far as I'm concerned. Like you haven't done anything, but I'm cutting you off. You're in that circle. You've seen them talk about this shit, and you just talk to them like they're cool people. God, I'm done with you. Second, you talk to fucking insane fucking maniacs as if they're just casually cool people in the hobby. Boom, you're I consider you part of the cycle. God, I got no time for you. And it's projection too. They'll do all this psychotic stuff and then say they'll project it onto me. Like most of them can't take a joke if the joke is taking a poke at them. They freak the fuck out. Black Rose, Philo, people fuck with me all the time. Pokes, I can take it, no problem. Disagreements. Anybody disagrees with them, they freak the fuck out. I have people, you know this, Bill, from Miles to everyone, even if I have to explain myself, but it's like he's here. People that disagree with me all the time. Me and Black Rose. Black Rose, one of my biggest, if not the biggest supporter I have, disagrees with me on several things. Completely fine. Right? I can handle it. They'll say over the years, oh, Steven can't handle somebody joking with him, or can't handle a disagreement. Yet I publicly handle people fucking with me, poking. I handle people disagreeing with me. They don't, but they'll project their reality onto me. It's like when people take a poke at you, you flip the fuck out, guys, because you can't handle it. When people disagree with you, you freak the fuck out because you can't handle it. So it's all projection. Complete projection of who they are onto me. A completely false picture of who I am. Oh well, it is what it is. And I've put up with it for years now, so I'm used to it. I just become numb to the whole thing. I'm just like, yeah, all right. I mean, I could point it out to you and explain it to you, but it's like, so they miss out on stuff. That's their own fault. And they have boring people on to talk about most of the tabletop role playing and stuff anyway. I'm like I'll see them talking about the game stuff, and I'm like, oh, dude, I have some real experience. You probably want me on that fucking panel with people. You probably want me on the stream talking to you about that stuff. I know my shit really well. And I can handle disagreement. And I can handle joking around. So I'd be really good going on that stuff. Like you take me on the panel, we can fuck around. But not under condition. Like I don't need you to agree with me to fuck around. And I don't need you to be sort of bowing your head to me, and then I can handle it, or I deliver the jokes and you can't. Like some guys on there will be the ones that poke at you and then talk like they're cool people. But I'm like, yeah, reverse that on them. They can't handle it. They'll bring that to your panel, to your show, to your stream. They can take a poke at you. You can't take a poke at them. Difference is I can go on the thing, poke at you, and you can poke back at me, and I'm fine. You can disagree with me. I don't lose my fucking mind. I'll explain myself. I won't even get frustrated that you disagree. Don't be like, oh, no, I'll just explain myself. Huge difference, right? Somebody needs to turn their car, their good quick. Huge difference. And I think it's necessary that you should have to explain yourself. If we go into a panel together and we're disagreeing, I won't just get mad that you're disagreeing. See, if you go on one of their panels or you talk to them and you disagree with them, they'll get mad that you just disagree. Like they're mad at you for just disagreeing. They'll actually paint your disagreement as wrong. So it's like, no, it's actually okay that he disagreed with you, but it should force you to explain yourself, not paint that he disagreed with you being wrong. That you should have to explain yourself. Why are you right on this thing? Why do you take your position? And that's important to me. That's more important than dismissing people. Like, I have a lot of knowledge. Like, I've done a lot of different games. I don't have a simple view on these things. So I'd be really effective in some of the dialogue and conversations. Like, all right, well, you don't get to have me on your fucking panels and streams if you treat me like shit, though. That's it. Go have your boring fucking panels without somebody like me on it. Go have your fucking boring streams where you try and talk about these games and you can barely say anything that's useful. Or go talk about the same thing out of a fucking book all the time. Read. Well, here's what it says in the AD&D 1 ebook. There's my video. Boom. Click. Well, do you have an opinion of your own, dude? No, it's what it says in the book. Anyway, almost time to start the whole thing. Almost time to start. I'm going to start DragonQuest. I've been waiting for a certain guy to get around. I'm hoping he's around soon. Probably, I mean, it's not exactly right after this, but I'm probably going to have one more of these, my Joe Rogan time. And I hope that guy's around because I know a certain guy saying he wants to see the DragonQuest coverage, so I hope he's here for it. If not, he'll watch it later. There. I'm taking a breather. Usually it's like talk all the time. I can run my lips. Run the lips. And I'll be talking about Dragon Quest 2nd Edition. It starts in the 70s, but I actually played the 2nd edition. I usually play the 1st edition of most of the old school games I've covered. Usually that is the case because most of the guys have the 1st edition. I printed over the years. But I actually played the 1982 version of Dragon Quest, which I'm hoping impressed some Dragon Quest people because for the old school one, most of the guys prefer 2nd edition over the 1st edition. I'm like, I actually, that's the one. That's the one I've actually done so. And Dragon Quest did consider itself a competition to Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, it really did make the game to counter D&D. Because people were like, well, you're trying to copy D&D. I remember hearing about criticism. It's like, no, Dragon Quest actually felt like their tactical wargaming approach wasn't trying to copy D&D because D&D wasn't wargaming. They felt it was a complete counter to it. Like it wasn't them imitating D&D. It was them opposing D&D. Simulation, and wargamers really like simulation. That's why the combat extremely tactical, but can be very slow in Dragon Quest. Not slow initially. I mean, look, if you had people trying to play fast, maybe you could speed it up. But initially, anytime I seen it it was slow in the combat area. It would just take a long time because it's so many things you have to cover and do. Just the economy of actions in a combat thing for Dragon Quest was a lot. Like it's everything. You got to measure out everything. Everything is measured out in a certain way. Simulation, pure simulation. skimming over some of the things I have for it. I keep talking about tactical, but I almost don't want to give too much away either. In a way, I have by telling you guys the tactical side of Dragon Quest. I've already given not a lot away, but in a way, at least the philosophy I've given to you guys already. Jeez. So I got to watch what I say. I can't really say more until I get into the actual coverage of the game. Because at a certain point, I might as well just say, "Why? There's not a lot. Like it's no point in saying a bunch of stuff. It's already mostly stated if I keep going on." But because it's so mechanical, because it's so mechanical in certain ways, because it's so wargamey. Uh, I edited down the rundowns for this and try to make it sure that it's a little bit more leaning into the mechanics and gamey side of things. I had no problem with Dragon Quest. Like just the natural way it is, it's already my rundowns were already sort of leaning in that direction anyway, because the game it is extreme gamey game. Where like I did my members only Stargate SG1. I know I have to sort of wait for future members will check that out. And I knew that game wasn't going to appeal to the few members I probably have. I know one person's going to check it out by the time they're around, which is Black Rose, but I know he's extremely busy, as he warned us about. So I knew that wouldn't get checked out. Stargate 1 or Stargate SG1 is it's a lot less tactical as far as your approach to it. Like the game is on a very basic level. It already is what it is. So the talk about the gamey side of that can become very plain Jane. And so when you're talking about a game like that, designers for a lot of old school games wanted you to have a certain experience with the games. So you would notice if you looked at a lot of old school games, they'd be very, very basic. And you might know this, Bill, if you checked out, you know what I mean, even bunnies and burrows, which I think I did good coverage on. I think you were happy with that. You would agree. The reason I had to talk about the way you approach it and a lot less about the mechanics is the mechanics are very simple. Like that, it's a old, and you know this, Bill. Old school games are more about your approach to it and how you run it and how you play it, rather than worrying about like the mechanics. The mechanics are going to be very basic, right? So it's really how do you view the animals? How do you view things? And if you got that view right, if you got your performance and your focus and that type of thing, like skill wise, talent wise, down, you'll get more out of bunnies and burrows. But if you try to look at bunnies and burrows as a mechanical game, I mean, I could communicate the mechanics in one fast going 10 minutes. Like that'd be a 10-minute stream, bunnies and burrows. And I actually would not be communicating that much to you. Like it'd be a bad way to communicate it. Because if I only told you about the mechanics, it would end up leading to you to not probably getting out of the game what I got out of it, what you got out of it, Bill. To get out of the game, what me and you got out of it, you have to understand how to view how you come at the game, right? So old school, a lot of games were about performance and a view you've taken of things. The mechanics never really handheld you and walked you there. Like if you looked at the mechanics to say, will the mechanics get you to the bunnies and burrows games that me and you played, Bill? No. Right? So just on the mechanics alone, it would be a very plain Jane generic game. It's you got to have a creative mind. So you got to look at the options and be creative with how you approach, how you do the relationships, how you like it's all these sort of hints in there. But if you're not creative, all that it's going to fall flat on you. Right? It's really going to fall flat. And I've heard a lot of complaints about bunnies and burrows being very generic and basic. Now, me and a guy like you, Bill, we know otherwise. Really fucking fun game. But if you depend only on just running it plain Jane as it is in the book, it is going to be generic. It is going to fall flat on you, right? You have to be creative it's like you said, I think your relationship with crows, right? So you have to be creative and having fun with your creativity and looking at it from that deeper sense, right? And when you do, you get a lot more out of most old school games. A lot of old school games are very plain Jane and generic. It's like, again, go to Cyberpunk. I've told people about Cyberpunk. I know a lot of people that complain about Cyberpunk being very generic. Very generic. That's a constant complaint from the majority about Cyberpunk, especially the first edition. Very generic. I ran the first edition, not generic at all. Exciting, fun, and interesting. But that's because I went at it like the designer wants, and I took a creative, push on that. And when you do, Cyberpunk is an excellent game. Excellent. But if you just depend on the book to run the game for you, especially as a game master, a very generic game. Extremely generic, because it takes your creativity and what the designers want to bring that game to life, right? Traveler, very excellent approach to a game. Very generic, very flat on your face if you're not creative at all. And there's a lot of complaints. If you go look at the majority of complaints about games like Traveler, it's a boring game. Now, I know otherwise. No, it's not. But if you have no creativity, if you just do mechanically what the book is saying to do, and you're not that creative, it's boring. Oh, for the prices now, because some of the old school games can be like almost $200, 150, 200. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, then I hope my stream helps some people make a decision. That's really good to know, Bill. Thank you for bringing that up. That's an excellent. People, maybe somebody will hear this and go, "Man, I'm going to try that game and go purchase it." But if not, maybe they'll hear the stream and go, "It's not my cup of tea," and that's cool too. I do an overview, not reviews. I think you probably heard me saying this to AJ the other night. I do overviews, not reviews. Exactly, Bill. And if not, especially with the old school ones, old school just sort of leans into leaving it to your creativity. And if you don't bring that to what you're doing, not just as a game master, but even as a player, right? But a game master should inspire it. Because if you're being creative in your approach and thought and talk to players, you're going to get them to want, you're going to inspire that from them, right? So on both sides of the board, you need to be creative or want to bring your creativity or just want to be enthusiastic about it. Can you bring that to it? You're going to have a lot of fun. And a lot of games that would be boring or fall flat will become some of the greatest games you've ever experienced in the hobby. Bunnies and Burrows, I love. You love. I know shitloads of people that didn't like it. Right? And it's a shame. And a lot of new school people, especially people that came in with 3rd edition or 4th edition or 5th edition, it's not attacking people. It's just that when I pick on them for depending on the book, I tell them there's a reason why I'm critical about this. Right? You depend on the book. So the book has to do the book is king. Right? But it's like, I'm old school. There's a reason why Gary Gygax used a line in the AD&D 1E Dungeon Master guide that says the DM is king. Right? It's because we have to bring the game to life. We have to have the authority to be creative with games, try different things, see things in different ways. And that's really important. And you don't depend on the book to run the game for you. Right? But a lot of new school people, especially old school people that lean into the new school mindset, they don't bring their creativity at all. Not in any serious way. Not in actually doing the gaming. And they depend on the books to run the game for them. Where I come from, the old school, the real old school, where the vast majority of games, it gives you the tools, but it leans on your creativity to make the experience fun. Like it says, yes, have the best person in your group running the game. Like that, the game designer depends on the most qualified people to step up and run them. Like, just don't let just Mr. Jack run. You got to find someone who's really talented to do this. They want your best people. Higher standard creativity. That's old school. That's the difference I come from, where I can take a game that you would say, like you might say Fate sucks. Not when I run it. Right? You might say Bunnies and Burrows sucks. Not when I run it. You might say Traveler sucks. Not when I run it. You might even say old school D&D sucks. Not when I run it. Right? Because I'm creative. And a lot of guys, even if they're creative, it just doesn't push them. They don't bring that to the table. So I'm like, yeah, no wonder you see old school D&D as plain Jane. You bring nothing to it. You let the book do all the work for you. That's it. It's going to be boring and generic if you are not creative at all and have no talent for what we do here. Well, it's getting people to understand that's the standard. And I always hope with my coverage and my push on these things, Bill, that's what I push for. But you're saying it right, good players and good GM. Well, fair enough. If that standard is understood, more people in the hobby, even the new people coming in, get to have that experience. Right? But if there is no standard in the hobby and nobody gives a shit about what you just said, just say we're at a time when what you just said doesn't matter anymore. So I push back against the people that say that push ideas that lead to dropping standards. And there's nothing wrong with that. See, it's like we're in a hobby. People say they'll want to come up with ways like, as long as there's a game for you, the way they'll talk is very dismissive. But what they don't understand is I'm like, well, there's a lot of people in the hobby pushing agendas and all that, and you're not pushing back against them. Like I'll notice this, I'll come in as a raindrop. There'll be an ocean of people pushing agendas. The guy who's being dismissive, what he doesn't understand is he's not dismissing them. He'll look at the raindrop and try to dismiss the raindrop. I'm like, dude, why don't you just turn around and aim some of your critique at the ocean? Like, I'm just a raindrop on the other side. You don't need to join the ocean and dismiss me. It should be okay that someone like me comes along. But a lot of guys in this hobby will turn around and say, oh, what the raindrop says doesn't matter. I'm like, yeah, but the ocean behind you has created an environment and even a way of playing the game and everything that you actually don't agree with. And what you don't some people don't realize, I'm like, I'll tell them, you are on the side of the ocean that you don't even agree with. They're actually using you, and in a weird way, you're actually joining them. And I know that's not people's intention in many cases. It's like, I know it's not your intention to join them, but your actions are joining them. Like sometimes intention matters. Sometimes the actions only matter. Like it's like, dude, are you defending a group of people that are doing things that contradict what you want? Not you. I'm just saying, a lot of people do this. They don't realize it. I'm like, you'll talk as if you're opposed to what they think. But many of your actions will end up defending them. You won't even oppose him. But the guy who comes along pushing the thing that supports what you agree with, you'll be dismissing him. You won't even realize you're fighting against the thing that you support. It's like you support what I'm pushing for, right? Yeah. Well, I got to be able to push for it, dude. So if you keep dismissing me, I can't even push for what you like. You have stripped away, like if you're successful, you have pushed back on me, the guy pushing what you like, what I like. That vanishes from the hobby if nobody speaks up. So if you keep telling me to shut up and you keep saying, oh man, I wish things were better. I'm like, dude, sorry, wishing doesn't work. Right? The reason why the hobby has changed is because these people have spoken up and you haven't dismissed them. The only way we can get back to where you think it's good is if somebody speaks in an alternative way to that. And what they don't even realize is what they're dismissing is wrong. It's wrong to dismiss it because, say, my position as the raindrop has this right to be part of the conversation as the oceans. So when you make the effort to dismiss it by saying, Yeah, but it only matters if we have fun. Well, that's dismissive. That's kicking me out of the conversation when I have the right, and my opinions have the right to be part of the dialogue here. So it's like a lot of people they don't pay attention to what they're publicly doing. Like if they realized what they were doing, they'd stop. I'm like, dude, I have the right to speak here too. Stop trying to dismiss what I'm saying. And my right to speak and what I have to say is as credible as everyone else's. And sorry, even if you say it's everybody just have fun. No, that doesn't work. My stuff is still valid to say out loud. Still has credibility, still has a good reason to exist in the conversation. Stop saying everybody has fun as a way to dismiss credible, valid stuff that belongs in the dialogue. And that ironically, the thing I'm pushing that will get dismissed will be being dismissed by someone who agrees with my position. And the only way to get what they want is if they let me speak up and stop trying to dismiss me. But people just don't understand public dialogue that well. It's not like you can control a narrative like just individually all at once. Everything takes time. I can't say something that changes everybody's mind right away, but I can start what you call the ball rolling, where I say it and I get past the dismissing stuff and I push the conversation forward. Other people will pick that up. But if I don't start it, it never starts. Like you always need someone to start at one point. It's like, okay, it'd probably take 20 years before we see any valid change, but it has to start at year one. So if you destroy me out of the conversation, well, guess what? 10 years later, we're still at year one. So anytime that I'm finally able to speak, it takes the ball rolling to 20 years. But it's like, how long before I get to actually speak properly? Does it take 20 years, 30 years? And when I start, the change can happen over a period of time, like a chain effect. But people, it's like the debate thing I said earlier, Bill. If you let the debate start, you go through the messy process, clean up to the point it becomes positive, entertaining, and fun, and a healthy part of the hobby that people enjoy, actually, that we have credible debates. But if you only start in the messy realm and never let that advance, well, okay, all right, it's been 50 years? Well, it's going to probably take 20 years to advance it, 15 to 20 years to advance it to a place where it's good. Now, sadly, we haven't started that start for 50 years. And it would have been nice, say, back in the year 2000 if we started then, because then even before now, the debates and the dialogue would be fun, entertaining, healthy. Credible people would step up to the debates. You'd be able to take it in without, and you would no longer paint the debates as bad. You wouldn't paint these people as just being assholes. You would actually understand the standard of people has risen up. The people that can handle debates would be the ones taking over the debates, and the people that were jackasses would have already been pushed out of the dialogue. They would disqualify themselves through the process of cleaning things up. And you'd be happy with the people in the debates. They'd be the right people. They wouldn't be people you want to dismiss. But you got to go through the messy to get to there. It's like, okay, it's too bad we didn't start in 2000, because then it'd be a really good thing for the hobby and for us, and we'd enjoy it. It'd be a positive thing, and you wouldn't paint it as bad. And you'd have a different experience with the debate, so you wouldn't even see them as bad anymore. But it's like we're not going to stay in the dirty room, so don't worry. But it has to go through that process. And we should have started in 2000, but here we are in 2026. But at one point, if we ever want to improve, it has to start. And we have to let it evolve. And we can't dismiss the debates. And we got to let it go through the messy. And some of us in this fucking hobby need to shut our fucking mouths and let the debate happen and stop telling other people, oh, just don't pay attention. Don't just fuck off with that. Keep your opinion to yourself and let the argument happen. Well, ignore it. No. Shut you. Ignore the guy saying ignore it. That's what I would start telling people. The guy who says ignore it, tell him to shut the fuck up. Ignore him. Because he's been winning for 50 years. And that's the problem in the old school. Guys who said ignore it have won that for 50 years. So it's like, no, today, the guy who says ignore it, put him in the fucking corner. Right? Because he's won for 50 years. No, we're in a fucking mess because of people like that. Get in the fucking corner. Let the debate happen. I'd rather let debates happen than people just hate each other. See, when I say I ignore certain things, I ignore people hating each other. But we're in that state because we haven't went through things. And we got to make sure we know what is bad and what's good. A lot of people will say, this hate over here is drama. But then they'll say a disagreement's drama. Bill, I spent years in this hobby where I'll hear two people disagreeing with each other. Oh, they're attacking each other. No, they're not. They're disagreeing. That's not attacking. That's a disagreement. Oh, there's drama. No, it's not. That's not drama. They're just stop falsely painting something for something it's not. Disagreements are fine. It's not drama. It's not attacking each other. Let that happen. It might sound messy, but it's not what you say it is. Now, when people really do attack each other through just only insults, then it's attacking. But you got to be able to know the difference. But the way people control the dialogue in this hobby, one of the famous ways is by painting something like a disagreement as drama. No, it's not. Painting something like disagreement as attacks. No, it's not. Do you know how many times public YouTubers in the old school have put out a thing, and I'll put out a video, and in the video, it's a very plain Jane. I simply disagree with the idea he put out there, which I'm actually hoping it's going to start a back and forth, but in a good way. Want to know what I get told? There's no back and forth. I'll be told the guy ignored the video because he paints it as me attacking him. Like, what the fuck? Dude, I'm not attacking. But the people that paint that as an attack have won that argument for fucking decades in this hobby. So they can take a simple disagreement that should be healthy and tell me I'm attacking that YouTuber. I'm like, dude, it's healthy to have the disagreement. I'm disagreeing with his idea. There's not, in the video, I don't even insult the guy. I simply am disagreeing with the idea. I'm told, not by just some, but by everybody reacting to it, I'm attacking him. I'm like, there's actually no real attack in there. I'm disagreeing with the idea. But they've gotten away and being successful with calling disagreement attacking. Or guys will act like I just ignore people that are doing drama. I'm like, okay, real drama, fair enough. But the disagreement over here, well, you don't have to pay attention to it, but you're not painting that as the drama you're ignoring, right? Yeah, that's the drama. That's not drama, dude. That's disagreement. That's okay. Like, just stop that game. That's manipulation. That's pure fucking control of our dialogue and manipulation. And we all got to start seeing things for what they really fucking are. Because the people that have been manipulating and controlling things in this hobby, in this part of the hobby, have gotten away with that bullshit for years. Right? Especially the older guys. Like, you ever hear, Bill? And I'm an older guy now too, but you ever hear, like, old boomers fuck everything up? Well, there's some real truth to that criticism. That there's a lot of old people out here that get set in their ways, and they do fuck things up in a way that makes it that we can't improve, that it stands still and it's not better. Like, look at the OSR. Huge opportunity. Old boomers in our hobby have fucked it. Have fucked it in a way that it should have never been fucked. But it's fucked because of this type of manipulation. So I just, like, I know how to separate things and see things for what they are. I'm an intelligent guy. I'm not stupid. I can see things for what they are. And I'm not saying, man, it's fun to hear all the messiest debates that go on. But I do know the difference between a disagreement and somebody attacking somebody. Right? And it's just, I spent years trying to have healthy dialogue with people. Healthy disagreements. And then have people reacting like the disagreement over an idea is an attack. I'm like, no, you need to shut the fuck up, because people, not you specifically, but I'm just saying guys who have been able to paint disagreements up as attacks or drama, they have been winning that argument for 50 years in the old school. And they need to shut the fuck up. They just need to go in your fucking corner and keep your fucking opinion to yourself. And you stay in the fucking corner So the debate can happen over here because it happens everywhere else. The reason we're so fucking backwards and antisocial in the old school, unlike any other part of the tabletop role-playing game hobby, is exactly because of the guys who come out and paint things falsely, winning. They've been winning. They don't get it. They complain like they're losing. Like they'll be like every year, a certain debate will come up, like a certain topic. They'll be like, "Oh, it's again this year. Oh, fuck, we got to hear this again." I'm like, "Yeah, but you know the way you're complaining right now." They'll be like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, that will shut down the dialogue. That will shut down the disagreements. That will shut down the debate. You'll win. You'll complain like this, like you did for 50 years, every year." And the reason it's coming up is because the issue hasn't went away. That's why the debate keeps coming up, because the issue hasn't gone away. We haven't had it out. We haven't had a fair argument about it. So it keeps coming up. But guess what? Your complaining will actually win. What you don't realize is you win. The guy who's saying, "Oh, we got to hear it again this year." Dude, you talk as if you've been losing something. Your complaining will win again. You know, your complaining will, and many will follow you, and they'll shut down the dialogue. So, but the issue doesn't go away. But it'll be shut down this year, comes up next year again. Why does it come up next year? Because the issue's still there. That's why. It hasn't went away. But you'll complain again, we'll shut it down again. Next year comes up again. You complain, and you keep winning. That's what you don't get. You keep winning. So maybe one of these years, you could just shut the fuck up and let people have the disagreement so they can sort out their fucking issues. Just maybe one time. Just one time. 50 fucking years of it. Could you shut up this year and let them have the debate? Just one time. All right, stop complaining. Stop being... The old school is a hobby of Karens. It's like, just let them fucking debate, dude. They're not attacking each other, they're debating. That's okay. Just saying. I preach about it because I've been through it all, right? Yep. Yeah. It's okay to tell people to calm down too. That's another thing. It's like a disagreement. Some people will get a little active. When people will use that, like say there are two people disagreeing, somebody insults the other person. They'll say, oh, there it is. Shut down the debate. Like, no, dude, the debate's fine. You get mad and set a higher standard. But you got to make sure you're communicating that. You're going to say, dude, look, you guys can argue, stop with the insults. That's the way you should be approaching that. Not that, but what do guys do every year, Bill? Somebody will cross the line because it's messy. Remember what I told you? These are messy. We haven't started. We haven't cleaned this up. So it's 50 years of shutting these down. They're going to be messy. People are going to get emotional. People are going to say shit. Instead of setting a higher standard, what do guys do in this hobby? Oh, there's our justification for calling it an attack and shutting it all down. Dude, just shut the fuck up. Like, if you got to let the attack happen out of the debate because you just cannot separate the two, go back to your corner again, please. Like, fair enough. I agree. The insult shouldn't happen. But that means we all should speak up and just say, stop with the insults, but like keep the argument up, but just stop with the fucking insults. It shouldn't be insult. Oh, that's an attack. Now we can shut down the entire debate because that's what happens, Bill. Insult comes. Now the debate is cut off. There we go again. Right? But even the debate. What's the debate? Bring it up again. The debate is progressing. There's so much more nuance, Bill, than just having some basic debate. We got to stop being simple about this shit too. These are big issues, and there's a lot more to them than simple. We've been 50 years of shutting it down and not thinking about it, and we haven't let intelligent people step up, see the nuance and complexity in everything we're talking about. It gets ignored. So you can't just say have the debate for a day and then shut the fuck up. The debate has to go on for 15 to 20 years. Like, what the fuck? Anybody who says, let them have the debate now, but then just shut up tomorrow, it shouldn't come. No. It doesn't need to come up for moral, ethical reasons. Just let fucking people debate. Let it happen. That's called the open square of ideas. Right? But and the old school, it's shut down, censor people, shut down, censor people. It's like, no. Yes, higher standard, I agree. Insults and lies, that's what you get after people for. But the debate, we need to be able to separate, and we need to be okay with that continuing. Like, that has to be okay. And I say this to people, if you don't want to hear it, how about this? How about you shut the fuck up and don't pay attention to it? I used to watch stuff on TV. If I don't like something, what do? Scream to the clouds to censor people and shut people up? No. I turn the channel. You know what people do to me when they hear me on YouTube talking, Bill? A lot of people, it's not good enough to not watch my content. They have to try to shut me down. Like, they can't just turn the channel. Like, to me, the second you want to shut me down, it means you want to control. That's a step beyond ignoring. You want to control, not ignore. Control. I say I don't want to control anything. Of course, I'm with anyone. If I pay attention to it, of course, I'm going to be against the insults and deceit. But I have no issue at all with the debate happening today, tomorrow, for 15 to 20 years. Forever. To get into the nuance, get into the complexity, take years, find the right people, set a higher standard. For the people that can't meet a higher standard, of course, they're going to be ignored appropriately. And with them and being ignored, they'll walk away. You won't have to kick them out or anything. If they're ignored, they'll just go. It's like I used to tell people, we don't got to make games with rules to control the DM. I'd say to the players, want to know the easiest way to get rid of bad game masters? They'd be like, what? Stop playing their game. But what if we put a rule in like a WotC D&D game that controls them? Don't need that. I'm like, it's more effective to just not play their game. Like, you don't need any rules. You don't got to change anything. You don't need to control a DM through a rule. Bad DM, walk away. They'll go away. You don't play their game, they'll go away. You'll get rid of every bad DM out there if we set a standard that players should walk away from the games where there's bad DMs, like guys mistreating people, and they don't play them. Or whatever bad negative thing you think there is, if that guy's doing it, you don't play the game. If that guy can't get players, he'll leave. Others like him will leave. What will replace them? People with better standards. If you treat players good, they play your game. You won't need to change any rules in the process. It'd be the most healthiest thing the hobby could go through. You just walk away. No rule changes, no control, no chain around anyone. Because most of the rules you make to control the bad DMs fuck up the good ones. So when you make a rule to control the bad one, you create a new problem. You're like, what do you mean? Like, well, that rule, many of these rules will fuck up the good game master who has talent. He'll be stuck to the book because now he can't be creative. The standards, the expectation for players will be bad because of the changes. Now you can't be creative because the players won't accept it. And so that fucks the good game master and the bad one. Every time you make a rule to try to control, you make a new problem. If you just walk away from the bad game master's game, it goes away. It will set higher standards. The only guys that will get players are people with better standards. They treat players better, and so they'll become the vast majority of guys stepping up. That will become your game masters. No changes, no rule changes, no control. That it's like say to YouTubers, like YouTubers you don't like. If somebody's really crossing the line, you don't get to get kicked off the platform. Stop watching. And that's it. And even at least they won't have any effect in your community. And maybe they'll find an audience, but that's okay. Now they don't affect what's going on where you're gaming. Right? And if they're really bad, they won't gain an audience anyway. But if other people might gain audience, maybe there's something wrong with you. So you got to consider that, right? Outside of your thing. But it's like, ignore. Just ignore. Click off. You don't get to control everyone. And we're in Western societies that we believe in freedom. So I don't like trying to control the debate either. Well, people just need to have the debate and only come back to it. No, that's control. That's control. No, people should be able to debate for fucking ever. Because I don't want to control. Now, do I think the people that pay attention should push for standards? Not control people, but push for standards. And if you want to be part of the debate and you are telling people to constantly, you're insulting people start ignoring you. I don't get to get you kicked off the platform. I start ignoring you. There you go. You won't be in the debate picture no more. You get ignored. That's it. And the guys who will debate without the insults, you pay attention to them. If you want to pay attention to the debates. And if you don't want to pay attention to the debates, instead of saying people should just debate and shut up, no, you shut the fuck up. Turn it off and go do something else. Stop trying to control what other people are doing. We're about freedom. Take the control factor off. And if your opinion stated out loud is creating controls, shut the fuck up and walk away. And so I push hard on that stuff. The freedom to do as people please. I'm really on that. And also, I tell people, be honest. Always be honest about what you're saying too. Because again, that's where I get mad at people calling a disagreement attacks or drama. I'm like, I'll see a perfectly fine disagreement going on. He's attacking him. No, there's no insults there. There's no lies. They're just disagreeing. But some people that don't even want to hear the opposing opinion, they'll do that. So it won't just be the two YouTubers arguing. The guy, some of the audience won't want to hear the opposing opinion either. That's why they'll paint one guy who has an opinion they don't agree with as attacking. I don't know how many tabletop role-playing game guys have come to me and say, could you stop the drama doing? I'm like, dude, I'm only doing what other YouTubers that you watch do. So if you paint what I'm doing as drama, why are you not going to the other YouTubers and saying what they're doing as drama? I've had guys do, Bill, I told you, the guy who's done 20 streams on me, did 20 streams on me, lying about me and everything. I did a 5-minute reaction. I'm not joking, Bill. This is real. And these guys weren't being deceitful. They were being serious, but this is how biased they were. They would come to my video, and I let 20 streams go where a guy attacked me. I make a 5-minute response. They come to my video. Man, why do you got to do all this drama? I'm like, what did you say to the guy that did 20 streams on me before I responded to him? Are you even counting what he did as drama? Or they'd say to me, man, I'm just sick of people attacking other people. The guy did 20 streams on me and lied about me. Do you count that as attacks? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you count that as attacks? They didn't. They were so biased, Bill. I'm not kidding you. They really didn't count the 20 streams about me where this guy lied about me. They didn't count them for real. They weren't being deceitful. They just mentally had a bias in their mind. They weren't counting it as attacks. They weren't counting what he was doing as drama. My 5-minute response to 20 streams being done about me, that was an attack. That was me attacking him. That was me doing drama. And they seriously did not see his 20. This is how deep the bias can go. The bias mindset. They really didn't see what he was doing as bad. Only what I did. I mean, that's extreme. That's madness. Right? Completely blind to reality. Completely brainwashed and manipulate themselves. I'm like, you can't see 20 streams about me where I'm lied about as attacks. You can't see that. You can't see it. It's only my 5-minute response to 20 streams. That is the drama. Wow. This is how biased they were. And it woke me up to a lot of things. But I've had it happen more than once, but it was just, that was one of the more extreme cases where I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm actually asking guys, like, what did you say to the guy who did 20 streams? They said nothing. Because they don't see his streams as attacks or drama. Because they agree with him. And not agree with what he said about me. They agree with him about other gaming stuff. So they like him. And for that reason, they think it's okay that he might say something about me. So I realized if I had been saying stuff that they like too, they would be against it. Because anytime two YouTubers go at each other, where the audience actually agrees with both sides, they'll actually start seeing the truth. You guys shouldn't be arguing. He's decent, you're decent. But if two of the guys are going like this, but one guy says things they disagree with, they'll have a completely biased, unfair view of the guy they disagree with. And they won't apply that standard to the guy they agree with at all. Wow. Right? But that's just the way it is. You can't get around that, kiddo. All right. It is close enough to the time. I gave some people time to get here. I'm going to start now. Sorry to be so sudden. But I yap like this before I get to the gaming stuff. So here we go. Let's begin. DragonQuest, 2nd edition, 1982. SPI, or SPI, enters the role-playing hobby. By the late 1970s, tabletop role-playing games were growing rapidly. TSR had found enormous success with Dungeons & Dragons, but other companies were beginning to ask whether fantasy role-playing could be designed differently. One of those companies was SPI, Simulation Publications, Inc., one of the leading publishers of historical and military board war games. Rather than imitate D&D, SPI wanted to create a fantasy RPG that reflected its own strengths in simulation, tactics, and detailed game design. DragonQuest became SPI's answer to Dungeons & Dragons. Competing with Dungeons & Dragons, by 1980, Dungeons & Dragons dominated the fantasy RPG market. Rather than produce a direct imitation, SPI chose to create a game that reflected its own philosophy of detailed simulation and tactical decision-making. DragonQuest became one of the first major fantasy RPGs published by a company whose roots lay in professional war game design rather than role-playing games. Instead of trying to outdo D&D on its own terms, SPI offered players a fundamentally different style of fantasy adventure. A wargamer's designer's approach. Unlike TSR, SPI's background was firmly rooted in complex strategy games. That heritage influenced nearly every aspect of DragonQuest. Combat emphasized movement, weapon choice, facing, timing, and tactical positioning. Success depended less on abstract mechanics, I'd say theater of the mind, and more on making good decisions on the battlefield. Instead of asking, how can we make another fantasy RPG, SPI asked, how would a war game company design one? This is them saying that TSR is not a war game company, and they're going to make a game that is what people nowadays try to claim TSR D&D is. But again, back in the old school, it was not actually seen like that during the era. The result was a game that felt more like simulation of fantasy combat than many of its contemporaries. Moving beyond traditional classes, many early fantasy RPGs relied on rigid character classes that largely determined a character's abilities and future development. DragonQuest took a different approach. Characters belonged to professions, but advancement focused heavily on improving individual skills and abilities. This created far greater flexibility than many class-based fantasy RPGs of the period, while still giving professions a meaningful role in defining a character's starting strengths and career. It became one of the earliest widely published fantasy RPGs to place such a strong emphasis on skill-based character advancement. A structured approach to magic. Magic was another area where DragonQuest distinguished itself. Rather than treating magic as a singular spell list shared by all spellcasters, the game organized spells into numerous colleges of magic, each representing a particular magical discipline with its own themes, strengths, and limitations. Characters generally specialized in individual colleges of magic instead of simply learning every spell available. This gave different magic users distinct identities and made the choice of magical tradition one of the most important decisions a player could make. From first to second edition, DragonQuest first appeared in 1980 as a box set containing 3 separate rule books, right at the end of 79, to be honest. That's why I said 70s, but like at the end of 79. The second edition, released in 1982, was not a complete redesign. Instead, SPI or SPY refined the original game by collecting the rules into a single volume, clarifying confusing sections, revising portions of the combat system, and improving the overall organization while preserving the game's core mechanics and design philosophy. So it wasn't like a second edition in the way AD&D was, like, a second edition was a second edition. This was they call it second edition, but it was like just revising the first game, organizing everything. Many long-term fans regard the second edition as the definitive SPY version because it polished the original game without fundamentally changing what made it unique. Birth of the game. DragonQuest was originally designed by Eric Goldberg, David James Ritchie, and Edward J. Woods, with Gary Klug playing a significant role in developing the second edition. Released in 1982, DragonQuest Second Edition presented a fantasy RPG that stood apart from many of its competitors by emphasizing profession-based characters with flexible skill advancement, tactical combat where positioning and decision-making mattered, specialized colleges of magic instead of one universal spell list, a detailed rule system rooted in simulation rather than abstraction, a design philosophy shaped by SPY's decades of wargame experience, meaning mandatory gameplay for old D&D was pure theater of the mind because miniatures were optional. Most DMs of D&D were doing pure theater of the mind. And it was, if you're back in the old school era, instead of being in today's hobby, looking back at it and trying to guess your way through this, you would understand back in the day, wargamers seen more of the pure theater of the mind, the abstract combat. They seen all that being played out more than anything else. They didn't see wargaming or an emphasis on wargaming and TSR D&D the way the guys try to portray it today. Just wasn't a reality back in the day. I know this personally because when I entered the hobby in 1987, this was the critique I was hearing from actual wargamers. And when I joined the gaming club where we were doing TTRPGs, it's the way people played it. It was like vast majority were all pure theater of the mind guys. Like it was almost no miniatures because miniatures weren't plastic when I entered the hobby. They were still unaffordable. There was miniatures at the table. It was a show off. It was a collector's piece, not something you used for the game. Reception. DragonQuest earned praise for its tactical depth, detailed combat, and flexible character development. Many reviewers appreciated simulation approach and the freedom offered by its skill system. At the same time, its detailed rules gave... Oh, 1 second there, friends. Oh, the timing. Had to pass something out to somebody. Sorry about that. Okay, many reviewers appreciated simulation approach and freedom offered by its skill system. At the same time, its detailed rules gave it a reputation for having a steeper learning curve than many competing fantasy RPGs. Although it never matched the commercial success of Dungeons & Dragons or RuneQuest, DragonQuest developed a loyal following that continues to appreciate its distinctive design decades later. There's a big difference between somebody looking back and trying to paint the hobby as something it wasn't, and someone like me who was in and around thousands of people in the hobby gaming and actually seeing what it really was, and then knowing designers understood it from the vantage point that I had. DragonQuest was bringing it out like everything DragonQuest is claiming to be. Guys in 2000, say even 24, were out here saying AD&D 1E is that. And I'm like, no, it's not. That's not the way it was played by the majority. It's not the way it was ran. It's not the way it was viewed. Mandatory was pure theater of the mind. And so D&D was considered to be abstract. It had optional stuff, but the optional stuff was ignored by most people as if it didn't even exist. It was almost forgotten about. Some people use paper. Some. During the Beckme days, I didn't see it much, but I seen some of the Beckme guys still doing it just sort of as nostalgia when I came in '87. But Beckme was using these chips, what they call chips. They use that term, but pieces that weren't miniatures, but they sort of acted that way. But they dropped that. Even most of the Beckme guys were running it pure theater of the mind. AD&D 1E guys were doing pure theater of the mind. When I started dealing second edition, it was all pure theater of the mind. And so D&D was known as a pure theater of the mind game by the vast majority. And so it was criticized because it was doing that as abstract gaming, and wargamers didn't like that. They liked tactical. And TSR D&D, as far as they were concerned, by what they seen, was not a tactical combat game. And that was exactly how it was. Now, if you come in later into the hobby, or you were part of a minority in the hobby, maybe you had that experience in the minority. But why were the designers designing games that play to what I'm saying and not play to what the guys are saying nowadays? Why was there guys making DragonQuest saying they're making something different from D&D? Because everything I just described about that should be what AD&D 1E is, if you believe the guys nowadays in like 2024, like the BroSR guys especially. If what they said is true, why would DragonQuest get made with the combat the way it is as a counter to D&D? Because they weren't there. I was. And I'm sorry if there's a minority of guys with loud voices that were playing at home and maybe had a slightly different experience with a minority of people, but the vast majority were doing what I tell you. And when I tell you because I was actually there. So when I hear guys, YouTubers today, that talk about an alternative world that didn't exist when I was there, I get a little frustrated. I'll come out and push back, but I realize it's what a majority of people want to believe about old school. And that's why the audience pushes back against me, not because what they say is true, because the audience wants to believe that. Understood, my dude, Bill. We can talk about that later. Okay. So I just wanted to really drill on that, because back in the old school, I get the audience wants to believe something different about the old school. I get many of the YouTubers want to believe something different about the old school. But there's a difference between, like, I get the audience wants that and YouTubers want that, but it wasn't that. Right? And I hate to be a party pooper to a lot of guys. So I show up and I go, well, this is how it actually was. And I was there and I really participated deeply in it. So that's why guys like Bill, who's a real old school guy, will come along to me and go, yeah, that's how we did it. Like, people might notice that a lot of guys that come to me are real old school guys. I get a lot of real old school guys that were really there in the era. And it's not that they'll say, oh yeah, you might have had a minority of this experience, but they get what I'm saying. That's why I connect with them so easy. Guys that were really in the era connect with me right away. Especially guys that just don't lie. Right? They just have no reason to lie about this. They show up and they connect with me right away. But there's a lot of wishful thinking that goes on. I hate to say it, with a vast portion of the old school audience that just does not want to believe the truth. Right? It really was up here. As far as that question you asked me, I need to send you a map of Mr. for your wall. Let me know. Yeah, yeah, I definitely want one. Hugely want one, dude. Hugely want one. That sounds awesome. Would appreciate that, Bill. Mysteria. I do. All right. Next rundown here: how to run it. So this is game mastering, and I promise you guys I'd be a little bit more. I hope to lean more into the gritty side of things here. Present a living world. Dragon Quest works best when the world exists independently of the player characters. Kingdoms have their own politics, merchants pursue profit, guilds compete for influence, and monsters act according to their own goals rather than simply waiting for adventurers to arrive. The game master's role is to present this world honestly and let events unfold naturally as players interact with it. It is so weird to, I knew this about Dragon Quest back then, but it is so weird to hear guys in 2026 try to describe D&D this way. I'm like, I was actually there. I done the Dragon Quest stuff, and I know they were better at this stuff and more emphasized it better. But then I'll hear guys that weren't back in the old school, and they'll be like, they'll describe this as being D&D, and I'm like, no. I mean, the options were there, but most people ignore them. No. Not saying the odd person didn't, but this is why. Everything I'm going to say about Dragon Quest now, a lot of it's going to sound very familiar to the claims that you hear today about old school TSR D&D. Just I can't get around that because that's what this is. I'd be lying to you if I said Dragon Quest was something else. Let preparation matter. Dragon Quest rewards planning. Before entering a dangerous location, players benefit from gathering information, purchasing appropriate equipment, hiring assistance when necessary, considering multiple approaches to a problem. The game assumes that careful preparation can significantly improve a party's chance of success. Make combat a tactical challenge. Combat should feel like a contest of decisions rather than a simple exchange of attacks. Positioning, movement, weapon choice, initiative, weapon reach, and order of actions all influence the outcome of a fight. Encourage players to think about terrain, maintaining formation, protecting vulnerable companions, and controlling space instead of simply advancing towards the nearest enemy. Well-chosen tactics often matter as much as a character's individual abilities. Give opponents clear objectives. Enemies should pursue believable goals. Bandits may try to steal valuables and escape. Mercenaries may withdraw if casualties become too great. Guards are likely to protect an entrance rather than chase fleeing intruders across the countryside. Giving opponents sensible objectives creates encounters that feel more believable and often leads to outcomes beyond simple victory or defeat. I'm giving you advice here for Dragon Quest. Many of you might think I'm giving you advice for old school D&D if you listen to a lot of the YouTubers today talk about old school Dungeons and Dragons. You might like, this is good advice for TSR D&D. It's like, not if you're really in the old school, that they didn't play it like this. The vast majority. So my advice for old school D&D would be completely different from this. If we go back to the actual old school era, because the way most of them were playing it, this advice probably wouldn't fit exactly. But it's going to sound like if you just listen to a false way of it being painted, you're going to think this advice would be good for AD&D 1E, for example. No, it wouldn't. Make magic feel distinct. Each college of magic represents its own magical tradition. Adventurers should provide opportunities for different colleges of magic to demonstrate their unique strengths. Rather than every magical challenge being solved in the same way, different colleges should naturally excel in different situations. This helps each magical tradition maintain its own identity throughout the campaign. Reward different solutions. Not every obstacle needs to be overcome through combat, for example. Negotiation, stealth, investigating, bribery, deception, careful observation, and clever planning can all resolve situations successfully. Oh yeah, when you do the combat, is way more emphasized on wargaming than old school D&D was. Dragon Quest, again, if you listen to guys today, you would swear that's what old school D&D was, or how most people went at it. Like, no, it's like when I hear some guys on the panel, it's really hard to do like theater of the mind combat for D&D. Yeah, that's why the majority of DMs did it like breathing air perfectly back in the old school era. I don't, somehow they did it, but I'm told they couldn't do it. Dragon Quest provides enough mechanical support for a variety of approaches, allowing players to choose methods that fit both the situation and their abilities. Use skills, but still, Dragon Quest is like any other war game. You don't just rush into combat, so they do have a variety of trying to avoid some combat, because combat is still dangerous, as it's meant to be. Use skills as active tools. Skills are more than entries on a character sheet. Many professions possess practical abilities outside of combat, so adventurers should regularly provide opportunities for those skills to matter. I mean, the game master needs to create situations where you don't just get things on the character sheet not to be used. Knowledge, craftsmanship, languages, wilderness expertise, social talents, and other practical skills can all influence how challenges are resolved. A broad range of useful skills helps different characters contribute throughout an adventure instead of only during combat. Pace recovery, pace recovery carefully. Resources should matter over the course of an adventure. Since recovering from injuries often takes time, players have good reason to weigh the risk of every fight. Damage, fatigue, spell use, and other limitations encourage thoughtful decisions about when the character or when to continue pressing forward and when to withdraw, regroup, or seek a safe course of action. Managing these resources becomes part of the game's overall strategy. So this is a lot more in the tactical area of healing and simulation. And you might get mad at Watsy's form of, say, resting, which I don't like either. But most healing was a lot easier through cleric and through getting your healing spells back and all this, and healing up pretty fast. So this is more simulation than old school D&D, right? So they actually expect you to really be tedious about this stuff. Like, it matters because it's a wargaming mindset. This is the real thing, kids. Not what people claim D&D was back in the day. This is the real thing. Build encounters with variety. A memorable adventure benefits from varied challenges. Mix exploration, investigation, travel, social interaction, because they do care about this stuff, puzzles, hazards, and combat, so that different parts of the rules come into play and different characters have opportunities to excel. This keeps the pace changing while showcasing the breadth of the system. Here's one thing this game doesn't care about, mainly. Social interaction is part of the game, right? You don't got to do a lot of it, and it's all gamey social interaction. If you play Dragon Quest, they do not emphasize narrative character development. It doesn't really care. It is more of a wargamer mindset. D&D cares about character development, and you can see language in Beckme as early as Beckme talking about knowing your character. And the only way to know your character is through something that the designers think is naturally happening through a ton of social interaction. And remember, if you go to the modules, even early Beckme, there's social interaction being set up that is more than just gaming. It is just to meet people and get to know the town and village. And why would they have that type of social interaction that is more for just getting to know people, getting to know the village? Because D&D cares more about that stuff than an actual wargamer really would. That's why all social interaction here is just for the game, right? And it doesn't seem to care at all about character development through that narrative path at all. What you would expect from a game built by a wargamer for a wargamer mindset. which D&D made by wargamers, but runs away from the roots right away. And actually has elements in it from OD&D right away and through game testing that they understand is moving away from it. Build encounters with variety. A memorable adventure benefits from varied challenges, as I said. So that's important. Let consequences carry forward. DragonQuest assumes that the results of one adventure influences the next. Victories can earn reputation. Defeated enemies may return seeking revenge. Successful alliances can create new opportunities, and failed expeditions may leave lasting problems behind. Allow the campaign to grow naturally from player successes and setbacks rather than treating each adventure as an isolated episode. They don't care. There's so much about, like, from the storytelling element, Dragon Quest just doesn't care about narrative. This is a game. This is a game, and it knows it's a game. And it's more wargaming than anything else. At least that mindset of, we're playing a game. That's it. That's what you're here to do. Treat travel as a part of the adventure. Journeys are more than simply moving between locations. Roads, rivers, weather, supplies, wilderness encounters, and local settlements can all create meaningful decisions before the party ever reaches its destination. It's saying decisions. Like, I just want you to hear the language here because I want to be very clear on this stuff. It's to help the game along. You make decisions, face challenges. Is it to get to know settlements or people at it that would be interesting? Nope, doesn't give a fuck. DragonQuest, the narrative side of this doesn't give a fuck. I'm just being honest with you guys. I hate to use the words like that, but it doesn't care. It just doesn't care at all. DragonQuest supports adventures where the journey itself contributes to the overall experience rather than serving only as transition between encounters. It's all about enhancing the game through any social interaction you do. It doesn't care if you get to know the town's personality. It just doesn't care about this stuff. Keep the world moving. Events should continue even when players choose not to act. So this is about simulation again. Rival adventurers pursue opportunities. Political situations develop. Merchants continue to trade. Trading, and villains advance their own plans. The setting feels more convincing when it changes over time rather than waiting for the party's next decision. Again, that goes to realism and simulation, which they do care about. Dragon Quest rewards thoughtful play. Present a living world, make combat tactical, give the opponents believable goals, let skills in different colleges of magic shine, allow consequences to shape future adventures, and build campaigns where planning, exploration, and decision-making are just as important as combat. Because everything is a game. Every part of the game is meant to play that way. This should almost, I hope, in a way that this almost confuses people. Like, wait, isn't that like old school? Didn't everything you just say, like, isn't that like, if you believe what people are saying today about old school D&D, you would think if I told you that was just D&D I was explaining to you, you'd be like, yeah. No. See, it's just people wishful thinking of today of trying to repaint the past. They're trying to rewrite history on you. See, but I'm a guy that was there active in it. So again, that's why guys like Bill and other people that were really in it will get what I'm saying. That's why I get these guys in my audience. Because they show up and they go, yeah, we were there like Steven, he's right. It's like, yeah, because I don't rewrite history, I just tell you the truth. So I was there. Dragon Quest wouldn't even if AD&D 1E was everything that people tell you it is today, Dragon Quest wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be considered an alternative. What did I tell you? Dragon Quest did. Go back and look in your history. They weren't trying to imitate D&D. Well, if you believe what people say today, they just tried to imitate D&D. If you believe what they say old school D&D was today, people that really, like, either they were at their home game and their very minute experience, very tiny minority, or a lot of the guys played only a little bit, left, and came back. Especially a lot of guys came back around the early 2000s. And they come back they see miniatures around, but they don't know the real history. They don't know that, miniatures, everyone's using miniatures. So of course, that's old school. No, it's not. That's Watsy made the plastic ones. But they didn't do the research. So it's a lot of assumptions and wishful thinking. Can you lie to yourself? If you want this to be the history of old school, of TSR, you first start just making up through assumptions. What happens to a lot of old school guys? I don't think they're all lying on purpose. I think they assumed it. They keep saying it. And a bubble, an echo chamber forms. This is why I told you they control the conversation. Guys like me can't take part on the forum. They form an echo chamber. They're all repeating all what they want to believe, all wishful thinking. And it gets to a point where the assumptions become fact to them. The picture they paint becomes the reality. And so by the time you get to this year or just in the last couple of years and you hear somebody describe AD&D 1E, what it was, they're telling you something that wasn't real. And you go back and you're like, and again, you go to panels, recent panels in like the last 5 years, you'll hear guys, yeah, you really can't do like D&D combat in any serious way with pure theater of the mind. But if I took you back to the old school era, it would blow your mind. I take you in and you'd see like fucking almost all DMs running with pure theater of the mind, like breathing air without a problem. And I mean large scale combat too. They could remember everything. Some would use abstract. Some would actually do tactical with their minds, because what you find out from science, and this is why it did work, the more you use your imagination, the better your memory works actively. See what happened when AD&D 1E came out with its raw rules as written module style. That meant a lot of guys without talent could run the game. Gary Gygax got letters from guys that were hobbyists in the hobby saying they were mad at him about AD&D, especially with this raw tournament stuff. And their complaints were this: we're unhappy because this is going to change the hobby. It's going to allow people without talent to run these games, and they're going to take over. That was their fear. They were scared guys that weren't hobbyists, that didn't care about this in the same way, or just didn't have the talent for running games and stuff. They would take over the hobby. And here we are in 2026. And guess what, guys? Those guys that wrote letters to Gary Gygax back then were right. And I'm not trying to insult people, but everything they said they were worried about came to pass. They were way ahead of their time. They seen it clearly for what it was. And so you get a completely false picture of old school D&D today. That's not real. And when I tell you what I tell you, I was there. So, I mean, you can either come to me and I can tell you the truth about it, or if you're one of the many people in the other crowd that want to have wishful thinking and you want something to be true that's not true, they'll keep telling you all the lies that you want to hear, all the things they think are true, because their assumptions have become facts. Need the character creation thing up. Let me just do a check here. Give me a second. Just checking some things here before I continue. Checking. Tomorrow is SLA Industries. That's going to be good. It's another cyberpunk game. Philo, if you're still around, if you like cyberpunk, tomorrow is going to be like another cyberpunk, right? Too much rules slowed everything down. Theater of the mind. Yep. Was the fast and fun. I just laugh at them. I can't imagine how the game goes at the table. There you go, my dude. There you go. Bill gets it right away. That's exactly how most of us play with that. I'm not going to get a lot of likes for this coverage. Oh my. This is one where it's like when you powerfully hit back at what most people want to believe, they're not going to be happy with you. That's sad, because you think, like, I think this stream is hitting really good. I'm hitting a lot of points and making a lot of points to a lot of people, telling a lot of truth here. I hear you. That's because it's another cyberpunk type of game. And I think actually, Philo, I think you'll like to hear about it for sure. Might even appeal to you, especially where you like cyberpunk, right? Um, but it is a shame that truth, I'm having a good night running this. You think all that would get you rewarded, but not when you come to an audience where it's like they just rather be lied to, most of them. So what am I supposed to say? Lies are going to appeal more to them than truth. It's how it is. I don't hate them for it, but it's a lot of guys just they can't handle the truth. We'll say that it's the Tom Cruise movie. Can't handle the truth. They really can't handle the truth. So I won't get a lot of appreciation from this stream. I totally get it. Not mad about it. Just is what it is. Here's what I would say, guys. I'm the red pill in the old school tabletop role playing game community, or whatever pill tells you the truth. Whatever pill color we're going to say, the black pill, the red pill, the fucking whatever pill tells you the truth. That's what I bring, baby. That pill, the truth pill, the reality pill, the like trying to tell most of the old school audience you're in a fucking matrix, right? And all I'm doing is the guy going, I can give you the ride out of the matrix, baby. But they might not want the ride out of the matrix because it's like, imagine you get to an audience that is mostly like that one guy in the first Matrix movie where he wants to go back into the matrix. He actually likes, it's like, that's really not meat you're eating, but it tastes fucking great. It's a lot of old school audience members right there. They'll be given fake steak that's not even real, but it tastes real, right? So it's like they enjoy it. And it's like, okay, dude, I get it. I totally get it. What am I supposed to say, right? But I'm almost hoping that, see, I would tell people, especially with DragonQuest on sale right now, if they knew the truth, this would all sound really cool to them. I mean, it might not be our cup of tea, Bill, because it is a very boom game. But I'm like, it'd be like if they found out AD&D 1E wasn't really this and they could just believe it, they'd all probably want to check out DragonQuest, because what they're telling me is, and this is where I'm not mad at the audience, most of the old school audience, is a lot of them like what they think AD&D 1E is. I'm like, it's not, but DragonQuest is that thing, dude. Like, I know you're living in a world of lies right now, but if you can get your head to the fucking clouds, I am purposely covering a game that you should want to check out, because this game does what people say AD&D 1E does that it doesn't really do. This does it. And if you tell me you like this gameplay, this game got your ass covered, dude. If you like, it's like the Bro OSR. You like AD&D 1E? Check out DragonQuest, my friend. If you live in reality, DragonQuest should appeal to you, and you should stop lying to yourself about what AD&D 1E is. It's not this. It's something else. This is the thing. You keep describing that this is what you want. So I look at the Bro OSR guys. I brought you DragonQuest, especially 2nd edition, really well put together package. This is what you're describing. When you describe AD&D 1E, you're not describing AD&D 1E. You're describing DragonQuest. That's why DragonQuest was considered an alternative game to D&D. Anyway, I'll put that over now. Okay. All right. Character creation. Choose a profession that fits your play style. Your profession determines your starting strengths, but it does not completely define your future. Think about the role you want to fill during the early stages of the campaign. Warriors excel in combat. Rangers thrive in the wilderness. Merchants possess valuable practical abilities, while the magical professions each provide access to their own College of Magic. Your initial choice shapes your early experience, but your character will continue to develop through skills over time. Plan your skill development. DragonQuest rewards long-term planning. Since characters improve individual skills rather than simply gaining new class abilities, think ahead about the areas you want your character to become proficient in. Developing complementary skills often creates a more capable adventurer than spreading experience across too many unrelated abilities. Pick skills that support one another. Look for combinations of skills that naturally work together. A wilderness-oriented character benefits from several outdoor abilities. A socially focused character gains more from combining communications and knowledge skills. A combat specialist can improve effectiveness by developing supporting abilities alongside weapon training. Building around a clear focus often produces a stronger character than selecting unrelated skills. Understand your college magic. Understand your College of Magic. If you choose a magic profession, spend time learning what your College of Magic does well. Each college has its own specialties, strengths, and limitations. Understanding both the strengths and limitations of your College of Magic will help you recognize the situations where your character can contribute most effectively. Value more than combat ability. DragonQuest regularly rewards characters who contribute outside of battle. Knowledge, language, craftsmanship, wilderness expertise, and social abilities all have practical uses during an adventure. A character with useful non-combat skills often has opportunities to influence the game long before weapons are drawn. It's that old school wargaming mindset of there's a lot of preparation before you ever get to the fight. That means there's a lot to do before you get to the fight, right? And they really dig in on that stuff a lot. Like it can't, but it's more gamey. It's like everything is gamey. Like socializing is not about character development. It's about improving things for your character, getting a better deal for your character or your group. But that's it. It's again, it's not about getting to know the personality of the NPCs or the personality of the village, because Dragon Quest cares a lot less about character development. Right? Just not a lot less. It just doesn't really care about it at all. Like socialize, it does use it, but it's more for aim at game benefit. Work with the party. Dragon Quest assumes that different characters bring different strengths. Rather than trying to perform every role yourself, build a character that complements the rest of the group. A balanced party is usually better prepared to deal with the wide variety of challenges the game presents. Be ready for tactical combat. Combat rewards thoughtful decisions more than reckless aggression. Consider how your character's equipment, skills, and professions contribute during a fight. Weapon choice and equipment can significantly influence your effectiveness, so consider how they complement your character's strengths before combat begins. Learn your character's options. Dragon Quest characters often have more choices available to them than simply attacking each round. Become familiar with your profession, skills, spells, and equipment before play begins. Knowing what your character can do helps the game flow more smoothly, allows you to recognize opportunities as situations develop. My take on flow is a bit different, but there is a flow to this game, but you got to be into what this game is pitching. You got to be a war gamer is really going to like Dragon Quest as a tabletop role playing game. If you're into the tedious, you'll flow into it. But this does come down to taste. You got to be into this. If you don't care about character development, you're really going to this game is for you. Build around a clear strength. Dragon Quest does not require every character to be equally good at everything. Characters who excel in a particular area while relying on companions and others often feel more distinctive rather than broadly capable generalists. The profession and skill system naturally rewards characters who develop clear areas of expertise. So D&D will have a lot of sort of generalized stuff, right? That's not pure simulation. Right? That's a different take. And more simulation leaning wargamer wants specific differences all the time. Think beyond your first adventure. Development is gradual. When they say character development in this, and they do use it, I'm not talking about personality, not who the character is, right? They're talking about developing the character for the game, like for the game aspect. So I don't want to confuse you. Don't think that Dragon Quest doesn't use this language, but understand the difference. When I say character development, as far as it relates to narrative, that's about developing the personality of your character, right? Dragon Quest is wargaming. When they say character development, they're talking about developing your character for the game, like the game aspects, the skills, right? The game. Choose skills and abilities with future growth in mind rather than focusing only on immediate advantages. A solid foundation early in the campaign gives you more options as your character gains experience. See what I'm explaining to you? I'm not talking about character development as personality. It's developing the character for the game, for gameplay. So leave room to grow. You do not need to excel at everything when creating a character. Dragon Quest is designed around gradual improvement because you're not leveling up in the same way. You're going to be taking your experience points and spending them towards improving your skills. So Dragon Quest is designed around gradual improvement. Accepting a few weaknesses at the beginning creates meaningful opportunities for development as the campaign progresses, meaning you can take on some other things instead of just putting everything into a small few things and trying to really push. It means you can just get a bit more for your character and then improve stuff as you go along. It just opens the door. If not, you know what I mean? There's not much to spend your experience points on if you're just focusing on a few areas, right? Dragon Quest character creation is about building towards the future. Choose a profession that fits your playstyle. Develop complementary skills. Understand your College of Magic. Specialize in clear strengths. And create a character that works well with the rest of the party while leaving room to grow throughout the campaign. I'll have the other half of my smoke. Just Joe Rogan time, little break time between. I hope you guys are enjoying this, but I just can't help. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying not to tease too much, but I can't help but just notice if AD&D 1E was what people say it was, almost all of the advice here, if I didn't tell you this was Dragon Quest, you would think I'm talking about AD&D 1E. Now, AD&D 1E is not this. Not for the majority of people that were in the actual old school era. But this is what you'll be told AD&D 1E was. It wasn't, but this is what you'll be told it was. Again, so it's like the storytelling stuff. The reason I push back on that is you wouldn't need Pendragon if D&D was storytelling. You wouldn't need Dragon Quest, the wargaming TTRPG that is this way, if AD&D 1E was wargaming. D&D hit I love old school D&D, but I tell you guys, I like it for, when I tell you what it is, I'm not lying. It has elements of drama class for performing, elements of storytelling, narrative, character development, who the character is, and elements, not fully, but elements of wargaming, the board game combat stuff. Now, that makes a unique package, which is what D&D delivers to you. Games like Dragon Quest do a lot more pigeonholing towards the game aspect of things. That's all. This is an example of just going more to one area than the other. And when people try to tell you that's what AD&D 1E or even 2E or all that was, I personally say they weren't, because the majority of people I seen participating with Dungeons and Dragons go at it like me and Bill would go at it, right? Like more in the creative zone, a lot more theater of the mind stuff. That was constant amongst the vast, not just like 51%, but like the vast majority of people. And because it was so popular being abstract combat, so popular the majority was doing this way, that's why designers made games like Pendragon for storytelling, because it wasn't. That's why designers made DragonQuest as not an imitation, but as a counter to D&D, to compete with it and give what some minority of people said they wanted. But D&D wasn't that. It just, again, hate to pick on people, but it's a lot of people in the old school nowadays love to rewrite history. I don't hate them for it. I get the instinct. But if you have nobody pushing back on you, no wonder. If you live in a bubble and you never allow opposing opinions to come in, you can be in a protective bubble that allows you to make up shit in your mind and believe it without any pushback. And that's where I become the raindrop that goes against the ocean. And it can become very unpopular to be the raindrop. Very extremely unpopular. I get it. I've always understood that. But I think it's good in the hobby, regardless, especially with someone with a platform, to be the raindrop. You know, somebody in the comment section would be no good. You have to have somebody with a platform because there's such a big ocean of one-sidedness, right? Okay. The setting. A fantasy world built on assumptions. Unlike many fantasy role-playing games, DragonQuest does not present a detailed official campaign world. Instead, it establishes the assumptions of a medieval fantasy setting while leaving geography, kingdoms, history, cultures, and politics largely to the game master. The rules provide a framework for building a world rather than a fixed canon that every campaign must follow. This gives each group the freedom to create a setting that fits its own style of play. So we leaned a little bit of sandboxy stuff here, but the sandbox comes more from, ironically, from the roots more like wargaming than, say, the later stuff, like the modules and railroads and modules. That's anti-wargaming. So if you like modules from D&D, oops. Oops. A medieval fantasy foundation. DragonQuest assumes traditional medieval fantasy world, feudal kingdoms, castles, villages, guilds, forests, mountain ranges, ancient ruins, and dangerous wilderness all fit naturally within the game. While fantasy creatures and magic are part of the world, they exist within a recognizable medieval society rather than a high fantasy realm overflowing with magical wonders. Doesn't this all sound like stuff guys will paint old school D&D as? Like, is there anything I'm saying here that like, especially if people listen to this later, anybody who listens to this later, does this not sound like I'm just describing what many people claim old school D&D is? The setting assumes swords, shields, armor, castles, trade, feudal institutions, rather than technology and culture of later historical periods. Civilized lands and dangerous frontiers. Much of the adventure lies beyond settlement lands. Trade routes connect towns and cities, but wilderness regions remain home to monsters, forgotten ruins, hostile creatures, and hidden dangers. Travel itself can become part of an adventure, with the frontier providing opportunities for exploration, discovery, and risk. This balance between civilization and untamed lands creates a natural foundation for long-term campaigns. Guilds and professions. Guilds help give structure to society. Craft guilds, merchant organizations, military orders, magical institutions can serve as employers, allies, rivals, source of information, or influential political forces. For adventurers, guilds are also natural places to find teachers, useful contacts, employment, and opportunities that can lead to future adventures. The colleges of magic, as we already talked about, one of DragonQuest defining setting elements is its colleges of magic. Rather than treating magic as one universal tradition, the world recognizes multiple magical colleges, each with its own philosophy, methods of study, and magical specialties. These colleges function not only as different approaches to magic, but also as institutions within the world, giving spellcasters distinct identities and recognizable places within society. A practical fantasy world. DragonQuest presents fantasy as something woven into everyday life rather than existing apart from it. Merchants, nobles, soldiers, craftsmen, guilds, and magicians all occupy recognizable places within society. Magic is powerful, but it exists alongside ordinary institutions instead of replacing them. This grounded approach helps make the setting feel or believable while still leaving room for fantastic adventures. Religion and the supernatural. Religion exists within the setting, but the rules leave individual gods, beliefs, and religious institutions largely to the game master. Alongside religion, supernatural creatures, spirits, magical beings, and ancient powers provide many of the world's mysteries and dangers. How these elements fit into the campaign is left intentionally open. Politics create adventure. Kingdoms, nobles, merchants, guilds, local rulers all have interest worth protecting. Rather than relying solely on monsters and treasure, Dragon Quest naturally supports adventures involving diplomacy, trade, rival organizations, political disputes, criminal activity, and shifting alliances. These elements allow campaigns to explore conflicts that extend well beyond the battlefield. Start small. Dragon Quest does not require an enormous world before the campaign begins. A single town, nearby villages, a stretch of wilderness, and a handful of important factions provide more than enough material for many adventurers. As the characters travel further, the world can expand naturally through play. This flexible approach allows the setting to grow alongside the campaign. What am I describing? Sandbox setting creation. Normal, but I like sandbox, and I admit sandbox is one of the sort of simulation type of things that come from the wargaming. So when you're doing modules in that and trying to call module sandboxing, you're getting it completely wrong. And that's just them trying to redefine sandboxing. Modules are anti-wargaming. Just saying. That's a fact. That's not a difference in opinion. That's a fact. Just saying. A world built for long. That's why Mysteria, as creative as it is, it's one of those great tools where if it doesn't counter what you're doing with D&D, you can keep it from wargaming because it can work well over here, and you can make up what you want through ideas and expanding as you go. But this works into D&D in a way that doesn't contradict what guys like me and Bill would want to do with it. Like hence how you get Mysteria, right? So when like the moral system for combat, it doesn't in D&D, it doesn't support wargaming. It doesn't go against it either. It's just an idea that doesn't contradict what D&D is trying to do back in the old school era. That's why it's kept. Not to promote that AD&D 1E is wargaming. It's to say it doesn't contradict its move away from wargaming. That's why those things stayed. So anything adapted from wargaming that lasts in D&D is because it doesn't contradict its move away from it. Very important. Okay. New regions. So let me start this. A world built for long campaigns. Because the setting is intentionally open, it naturally develops over time. New regions, cultures, organizations, and historical events can be introduced as players explore without conflicting with established official setting. Each campaign gradually creates its own history through the actions of the characters. See, I do this. So, but in Dragon Quest, I just expect you to do this because this is a wargaming mindset. And if you try to redefine this into modules, you got it completely wrong. Why the setting works. Dragon Quest deliberately provides a flexible medieval fantasy framework instead of a highly detailed official world. Its professions, guilds, colleges of magic, and grounded assumptions create a believable foundation while leaving plenty of room for game masters to shape kingdoms, cultures, conflicts, and history to suit their own campaigns. Dragon Quest does not have an official campaign world. Instead, it provides the foundations of a medieval fantasy setting built around kingdoms, guilds, dangerous frontiers, and distinctive cultures of magic. The open design encourages each group to build its own world while grounding adventurers in believable fantasy society. This is why Mysteria plays better for me personally. I like Mysteria a lot because it's made this from this. Forgotten Realms is just made, right? Like outside of the dungeon, Greyhawk is just made, right? Mystera is one setting like me and Bill like, because we're gamers. It's built by the actual staff from sandboxing, and you can tell properly that it's built for gaming. You feel it, right? You know there's all kinds of gaming to do with it because it's built from gaming. Oh, I'm probably upsetting some people. I see people leaving, probably. Never know. I don't know. I hope not. But at the same time, what am I supposed to do? I'm just telling you the truth. Okay, so mechanics under the hood. Action is broken into phases. Dragon Quest combat is divided into distinct phases rather than resolving each character's turn from beginning to end. Movement, missile fire, spell casting, melee, and other actions occur during different parts of the combat round. This creates situations where timing matters, allowing earlier decisions to influence what happens later in the round. It gives combat a fluid feel than simple I go, you go system. If you do like, there's a tedious here, but there is meant to be a flow with it. So I get they're trying to create one. Weapons feel different. Weapons are more than just than different damage values. Factors such as weapon length, speed, and handling influence how they perform in combat. A spear, a dagger, sword, or polearm each brings different tactical advantages and disadvantages, giving players good reason to carry more than one weapon instead of relying on a single favorite. Armor involves trade-offs. Armor provides valuable protection, but choosing equipment involves balancing defense against other practical considerations. Different types of armor suits different types of armor suit different characters and situations, making equipment selection an important part of both character design and tactical planning rather than simply choosing the heaviest protection available. Fatigue matters. Dragon Quest tracks more than wounds. Characters can become fatigued through exertion, affecting how long they can continue operating effectively. Managing endurance becomes another consideration during longer battles and demanding adventures. This gives prolonged encounters a different rhythm than games that only track injuries. Experience is spent, not simply awarded. Character improvement is tied to how experience is invested, rather than automatically becoming stronger in every area after reaching a new level. Players decide, well, there is a leveling system. I should have said there is one, but it's not really like the same as D&D. Or as a new level, players decide where to spend experience to improve specific skills and abilities. This gives players greater control over how their characters develop over time. So it is, I just should have said it's different than D&D, right? So I should have said, I said there's not leveling. I'm sort of meant to say it's like not leveling like D&D. It's just different. It's you choose. It's more controlled upgrading, which some people say they actually like, which is, I get it. Skills improve through learning. Advancing a character is not only about earning experience. Improving abilities often involves both experience and opportunities for learning within the campaign, reinforcing the idea that expertise develops through practice and instruction rather than simply accumulating points. Spell knowledge is earned. Spellcasters do not simply gain access to ever-expanding list of spells. Learning magic is tied to the character's chosen magic, college of magic, and reflects continued study within the magical traditions. This reinforces the idea that magic is a discipline to be learned rather than a collection of powers gained automatically through advancement. Percentile skills. Most non-combat skills are resolved using percent rolls or percentile rolls. This makes it easy to judge a character's chance of success while allowing abilities to improve gradually over the course of a campaign instead of advancing in large jumps. Incubates, like weight, matters. Dragon Quest pays close attention to what characters carry. Weapons, armor, equipment, and supplies all influence adventurers' capabilities, making inventory management and preparation a meaningful part of expedition rather than simple bookkeeping. Combat rewards teamwork. The rules naturally reward characters who support one another. Frontline fighters, missile specialists, spellcasters, and characters with practical skills all contribute differently during an encounter. Success often comes from combining those strengths rather than relying on one exceptionally powerful individual. Actions have consequences. Because combat is resolved in phases, Decisions made early in a round can influence what happens later. Movement, spellcasting, missile fire, and melee all interact, making the timing of actions an important tactical consideration rather than treating every action as an isolated event. A detailed but consistent rule system. Dragon Quest contains more mechanical details than many fantasy RPGs of its era. Despite the level of detail, many of the rules are built around the same underlying design philosophy of simulation, tactical decision making, and gradual character development, helping the different systems work together as a cohesive whole. Dragon Quest is a detailed simulation-oriented RPG. Combat unfolds in phases. Weapons and equipment involve meaningful choices. Fatigue and weight matter. Skills improve gradually through percentile-based advancement. Magic is learned through specialized colleges, and the rules reward planning, teamwork, and tactical decision-making. That is Dragon Quest. I hope you guys who are still here enjoyed the coverage of Dragon Quest. I'll probably piss some people off. I don't do it. I overkilled on that. But I mean, it's so. I mean, there's no way it can be ignored. If I said all this without saying all that stuff, wouldn't it seem like? But dude, aren't you just talking about like AD&D 1E? No. And people might say, how is this different than AD&D 1E? It is. It's very different than how most people actually played AD&D 1E. Just saying. Couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, Bill and Philo. And the Cyberpunk one will be good for you, Philo. But I couldn't help it, guys. I couldn't help it. And there was a lot of guys that probably listened to this and probably somewhat enjoyed it. And I hope anyone who's actually into wargaming TTRPGs really consider this, because right now Dragon Quest is on fucking sale. And Dragon Quest does what you think, many of you think AD&D 1E does, which you could bend AD&D 1E to do that stuff, but it wasn't how most people actually played that game. It's not how most people play Beckme. Bill's a Beckme guy. It's not how most people played OD&D. It's not how most people play second edition. I love what D&D was. That's why I always want to respect what it was. I don't draw that stuff just trying to own people or win an argument. It's just like I like what I knew D&D to be. So when I get to YouTube and I hear all these people pushing a complete different take on gameplay with D&D than I even recognize, I'm like, dude. And then some of the things I push that were truly common in D&D back in the old school, I'll hear it, but I'm like, well, that's what they care about with WotC D&D, character development. No, that's old school. That was OD&D, assumed it. Beckme actually somewhat acknowledges it. It still acknowledges it, like who your character is matters, and AD&D, that type of language continues. And then second edition just directly says it out loud. It's just if you go back to OD&D and then you see the language in Beckme, they're not explaining it to you. They just think it's a natural outcome of play. That's why they say things like Beckme, once you know who your character is. It's an expectation of play. Modules are set up to get to know NPCs and get to know villages, like the Temple of Elemental Evil. You'll notice that they expect you, there's personalities developed through actually gaming, them testing Temple of Elemental Evil before it gets put out there. And you are to get to know the personalities. You have to get to know them, not just mechanically play with the NPCs that are developed. You got to get to know them to be introduced to their personalities. Get to know the personality of the town. Why would D&D care about that? Because Dragon Quest, a real wargaming type of game, wouldn't. But D&D did, because it already cares about these things. And it's already acknowledging that narrative character development is already to be assumed. It's almost like they think they don't have to write it down to tell you to do it. They just think it's going to be done. There was a lot of old school stuff where, yes, of course, they just assumed this was happening. It's just happening. We don't got to tell people what to do. They're just going to do it. And you could tell with their assumptions laid out in the language in the games. It's only when you get to second edition they finally realize, and they realize it through AD&D 1E and their feedback on it. Most people are taking a long time to get there. Well, wouldn't it be better just to sort of direct people to it? Like, we already think it's happening since Beckman, and we assume it is. We actually assume narrative character development is part of the game. But we're going to use more direct language, more concrete direct language to get players to go towards it in second edition. So to say, oh, that's a WotC thing, which I've heard a lot of people say, I'm like, that's an absolute lie. Narrative character development was there from the get-go. And caring about getting to know NPCs and the world and performing through parts of acting, like social interaction, all in OD&D. But they actually don't just think just game. They don't just think you're talking to the faction guy just for a game. It's, yes, there's a game element, but get to know the faction. The monsters have personality. And anything from wargaming that leans into that stuff, it isn't there to promote that D&D is only wargaming. It's like the moral system. The moral system being played over to D&D combat plays into what D&D is separate from wargaming, so it comes into the game and stays. It's effective for game overall, but it doesn't contradict what D&D is. And again, mandated gameplay, which the majority are doing, is pure theater of the mind. And most people, when OD&D first came, the original D&D came out, a lot of guys that were new to the hobby, because they weren't getting the majority of war gamers trying to play it. They were getting a vast majority of other people, and they had either used miniatures or abstract. Most people outside of wargaming that were trying it, which was the vast majority, even with OD&D, they had no idea what chainmail was or wargaming. So they just did the abstract combat. And abstract combat becomes the norm. And maybe Gary, a wargamer, might not have been completely happy with that reality. And there's some elements of wargaming he definitely tries to push back in with Raw and Tournament. The module gameplay, that's an ultimate walk away from wargaming. Right? Again, sandboxing was a good element for wargaming. That's why it ends up in Traveler and DragonQuest. Like wargamer designers put it into their stuff, and you don't need the other stuff. Great. I actually like that, and it doesn't contradict, again, what I like to do with D&D. So I'll borrow anything that doesn't contradict what we're doing. But it is from wargaming. Modules is a push towards a lot of narrative. Oh my. It's just that people have been brainwashed for so long talking about these subjects, they really don't know this stuff. Sad. But Dragon Quest, good coverage. Yeah, I think I went through the beats on that pretty good too. If you're ever going to try Dragon Quest, everything I just said is fucking spot on. I should have, my only error was saying there's not really levels, because there is levels, and I shouldn't have said that. To be accurate, there is levels. It's just not levels, and this I should have finished off, because I really did mean to say it. This was it's not levels like D&D. It levels in D&D give you set this, set this, set this. Any type of form like that in Dragon Quest is you building your character up. So it's a bit different. Professions are like classes in that way. There are similarities. There are a lot of similarities to how you upgrade the character. But if you do see character development in Dragon Quest, that's one thing where I just got to correct people. Don't misunderstand what they mean by it compared to what D&D would mean by it. D&D will also say character development as gaming, but they also mean it as narrative. Where character development in Dragon Quest is all about game, building the character up for gameplay. It's developing the character for gameplay. Anyway, guys, there you go. Oh. I'm not going to make any friends on that one. What am I supposed to do? Sorry to my fellow nerds that might be a little mad at me on that one. But SLA Industries, that's going to be good coverage. And I won't be mentioning all this stuff. It won't be the same as tonight's SLA Industries. And then I'm covering the Fiend Folio, which is going to be good on Thursday. That's going to be fun. And next weekend is going to be Teenagers from Outer Space and Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. The next members only is Exalted. Then I'll be hitting AD&D second edition monsters. And I don't care if you're not a big fan of second ed, if you're especially a 1E guy, but I mean, the monster manual is pretty fucking impressive. The last weekend of July, I'll be covering Conspiracy X and Ars Magica. And the last stream of July is ironically a module type of thing. Tomb of Horrors. Tomb of Horrors. Hope everything is still connected here. I don't know how many people are watching or mad or not watching or fucking whatever the fuck. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes this will tell me one thing and then I'll find out there was more people watching anyway. So I don't know. At least one person around. Oh my. Okay. Well, that was it. DragonQuest. I think I'm going to call it there. All right, guys. I love you. I will definitely talk to you tomorrow. For now, take care. Bill, you can always contact me on Discord. The Mysteria map, all good. I'll catch you there on that.